Chapter 198. After Chu Kuangren created his own sage technique, he arrived at a mountain peak in the Black Heaven sect. This mountain peak was very tall and one could see far and wide from it. Let's do it here. Chu Kuangren nodded and took out a small pagoda. It was the sword gauntlet that he had obtained in the hidden sword canyon. He threw out the sword gauntlet. The sword tower expanded rapidly in the wind. In next to no time, a lofty tower appeared on the mountain peak, and a strand of sword chi shot into the sky, causing the clouds in an area of 5,000 kilometers to roil. Deep within the Black Heaven sect, a few forefathers could not help but be surprised. What the hell is this little fellow up to now? I want to see what other surprises he can give me. That's the sword tower. Black Heaven's third forefather exclaimed in surprise. Sword tower, the sword tower in the hidden sword gorge. Why did he take this out? When Chu Kuangren placed the sword gauntlet on the mountain peak, a surge of sword-based Taoist rhyme emanated and attracted many disciples. This is the sword tower and it can be used as a training ground. From now on, all disciples can enter the sword tower to verify their cultivation. Chu Kuangren said to the disciples who had just arrived. Everyone was very curious about the sword gauntlet. A successor disciple walked out and said, "Sect leader, can I go in and give it a try?" Of course. That direct disciple walked into the sword tower excitedly. Everyone saw the light spot that belonged to him appear on the first floor of the sword tower. Soon he reached the 11th floor. Then he was teleported out dejectedly. However, his eyes were filled with excitement. Sect leader, the sword gauntlet is really amazing. It can test one's Taoist heart and also test one's combat ability. In the future you can come whenever you want. Chu Kuangren chuckled. To adapt to the average strength of these disciples, Chu Kuangren made some changes to the sword gauntlet. For example, he removed the invisible barrier from the 1st to the 20th floor and changed it to a faceless swordsman. On the first level, the faceless swordsman would be used to test his combat strength. On the second level, he would use the illusion to test his Tao heart. On the third level, he would test his combat strength. On the fourth level, he would test his Tao heart. As the number of levels increased, so did the difficulty. However, he did not change the 48th and 50th floors. Wanting to pass was still as difficult as ascending to the heavens. I want to go in and give it a try too. Me too. Together. The group of disciples was eager to give it a try, and they continuously rushed into the sword tower. However, apart from the true disciples who were able to reach the 10th floor and above, the majority of the inner and outer disciples could only stay below the 10th floor. With this sword tower, the disciples can test their strength at any time, and they can even test their Tao hearts. It's killing two birds with one stone. In fact, in order to climb to a higher level, the disciples will redouble their efforts in cultivation, forming a good competitive relationship with each other. Not bad, not bad. Chu Kuangren nodded in satisfaction. The greatest opportunity in the sword tower, which was the mindful emperor's inheritance, had already been obtained by him. The sword tower itself wasn't of much use to him, so he might as well take it out and let the disciples train. The forefathers of the Black Heaven sect naturally understood what Chu Kuangren was doing. They couldn't help but click their tongues in wonder. First it was the sage technique and now this sword gauntlet. These two actions of his are of great significance to the Black Heaven sect, third forefather said. Not bad. Letting him take over the position of sect master was indeed the right decision. Honorable Xian Qi smiled proudly. Black Heaven sect outside the mountain gate. A pile of rubble suddenly exploded, and a middle-aged man with a dusty face walked out with a confused look on his face. Where am I? Where am I? What am I doing? After a while, the middle-aged man shook his head, and his eyes gradually became clear. He then cursed, F***ck me. I can't believe Chu Kuangren's strength is so strong. He knocked me out with one slash. Say, what time is it now? That man was Murong Feng, who was knocked out by Chu Kuangren. You've been unconscious for 2 days and 1 night. At that moment, a voice came from beside Murong Feng. He turned around and his expression changed. He then snorted. Murong Xian, why are you here? Murong Xian said, if I wasn't here you would have been eaten by the beasts. Come to think of it, you should thank me. Have you been in the Black Heaven sect all these years? Murong Feng changed the topic. Yes. No wonder I couldn't find you. Why are you looking for me? Are you going to bring me back to the Murong clan to continue being humiliated by Murong Yu and the others? Murong Xian snorted. Murong Feng frowned. Murong Yu and the others are in the wrong, but you're still a member of the Murong clan. That's undeniable. Don't give me that. The Morong clan has never treated me like family. Even that father of mine has never asked about me. Otherwise, Morong Yu and the others wouldn't have dared to be so unscrupulous. At the mention of this, Morong Xian's eyes revealed a hint of sadness. The Black Heaven sect is my home now. I know you're here to bring me back, but I won't go with you. Morong Xian, do you know that the Morong clan's clan trial is coming soon? Morong Fong said. It has nothing to do with me. Then your mother has nothing to do with you? What do you mean? Morong Xian's eyes turned cold. After the clan trial, we'll worship our ancestors, but your mother's identity has always been criticized in the clan. Rumor has it that after the clan trial, the elders plan to move your mother out of the clan tomb. Boom. A violent surge of sword chi suddenly erupted from Morong Xian's body. As if the surrounding plants were affected by his anger, they instantly turned into ashes. My mother is already dead. Why do you still want to disturb her rest? Do you really want my mother to not be able to rest in peace? Morong Xian said with bloodshot eyes. His rage was about to burn away his rationality. The clan tomb was the resting place of the Morong clan's ancestors. Morong Xian's mother was also buried there as the clan leader's concubine. If you want your mother to rest in peace, there's only one way. That is to return with me and get first place in the Morong clan's clan trial. Let the elders see your value and they won't do anything to your mother then, Morong Fong said. Why are you helping me? You're a talent. I can't bear to see you break off all ties with the Morong clan. Returning to the Morong clan is a good thing for both you and the clan. It's impossible for me to return to the Morong clan, but I will participate in the clan trial. I won't let them disturb my mother's rest. Morong Xian said coldly. Inside the towering heaven palace, Chu Kuangren was cultivating. He had already reached the perfected battle monarch realm back at the Hidden Sword Canyon. He was only one step away from the honorable realm. He could even cross over to the next level anytime. However, he did not. He had been accumulating his foundation all this while. He could still kill honorable supremes without breaking through. But to break through, he needed to build the honorable supreme foundation level. The foundation of the Exalt realm didn't just rely on spirit energy, it required comprehension of Dao arts as well. Chu Kuangren did not lack the latter. Even most sages could not compare to him in terms of Dao techniques. What he lacked was the former. I have the 5 great supreme foundation levels in my body and the golden jade body support. Even an honorable supreme can't compare to my spiritual power. However, I'm still lacking if I want to form the honorable supreme foundation level. No wonder no one has been able to form the honorable supreme foundation level in the past 150,000 years. If the honorable realm is like this, how difficult would it be to form the sage supreme foundation level? Chu Kuangren murmured. He was very ambitious. Now, not only did he want to form the honorable supreme foundation level, but he also wanted to break through to the sage supreme foundation level. Chapter 199. While Chu Kuangren was cultivating, his communication compass suddenly vibrated. The message was from Elder Ruyan. Are the people from the White Lotus Society here to ask for help? Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. He got up and left the towering heaven palace, arriving at the longevity hall. In the hall was the White Lotus Saintess who had returned. Her white clothes were as gentle as a snow lotus, but her usual tranquil smile was nowhere to be seen on her face. There was some worry and anxiety between her brows. Upon seeing Chu Kuangren, the White Lotus Maiden Sage walked up to him. Greetings, Supreme Elder. There's no need to be so polite. Tell me what exactly happened. It's like this. On my way back to the cult, I suddenly received a message from the cult. They want me to invite the Great Elder to the White Lotus cult and assist them in suppressing the Hell Beasts, the White Lotus Maiden Saintess said. Wasn't the Hell Beast suppressed by the White Lotus Sage ruler a long time ago? Chu Kuangren said in surprise. According to the ancient legends of the White Lotus Society, there was once a hell demonic beast that wreaked havoc in the countries in the south, but it was suppressed by the White Lotus Sage monarch. Because of this, the White Lotus Sage ruler founded the School of White Lotus. Indeed. However, during this period of time, the seal left behind by the Sage King has been damaged. The demonic beasts have taken the opportunity to attack the seal. Although they are being suppressed by the sages of the cult, the demonic chi is still leaking out, causing chaos. The cult leader has asked me to look for you, Elder. He wants to borrow your White Lotus light of purification to purify the demonic chi. I see. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. That won't be a problem. Now that the School of White Lotus and the Black Heaven sect were on the same side, it was only right for them to support each other. Chu Kuangren did not reject the offer. After informing Elder Rian and the others, he prepared to depart for the School of White Lotus. At this moment he saw two people walking into the Longevity Hall. It's him? Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised because the person who had just arrived was none other than Murong Feng, whom he had knocked unconscious outside the Black Heaven Sect's mountain gate 2 days ago. Oh, you're awake? Chu Kuangren chuckled. His attitude made it seem as if he was not the one who had knocked him out. The corner of Murong Feng's mouth twitched. A hint of fear flashed across his eyes as he looked at Chu Kuangren. He was a little afraid of Chu Kuangren. He fainted with a single strike of the sword. He couldn't believe that a battle monarch realm cultivator could possess such strength. It's all thanks to Brother Chu for showing mercy. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have lost my life. Murong Feng cupped his hands and said. His attitude was much more polite than when he had challenged Chu Yang 2 days ago. Elder Rian, the White Lotus Saintess, and the others watched from the side. They couldn't help but sigh. Indeed, if you're not convinced, you have to give them a good beating. Why did you bring Murong Xian here? Chu Kuangren asked. I want to bring him back to the Murong clan, Murong Feng said. Oh. Chu Kuangren did not say anything. He looked at Murong Xian and asked for his opinion. He wanted to see if Murong Xian was forced to do this. Sect leader, I have some matters to attend to at the Murong clan. I need to return and deal with them. I can't stay at the Black Heaven sect for the time being. Murong Xian's face was filled with guilt. In the eyes of others, his actions made it seem like he was betraying the Black Heaven sect and returning to the Murong clan. However, Chu Kuangren only gave him a deep look before he went forward and patted him on the shoulder. He smiled and said, Go, but you must remember that the Black Heaven sect will always be your strong shield. Yes, sect leader. Once I'm done with this matter, I'll return as soon as possible. Murong Xian nodded firmly. Nonsense. The Black Heaven sect is your home. Of course you have to come back. Chu Kuangren jokingly scolded. You're right, sect leader. After that, Murong Feng left with Murong Xian. Remember, Murong Xian is a member of the Black Heaven sect. If anything happens to him in the Murong clan, I won't forgive you. Before Murong Feng left, Chu Kuangren's cold voice suddenly rang in his ears, causing him to tremble uncontrollably. What's wrong? Murong Xian noticed Murong Feng's strange behavior. Since Chu Kuangren had used his spiritual thought to communicate, no one else besides Murong Feng heard it. No, it's nothing. Murong Feng shook his head with a stiff expression. There was an inexplicable sense of unease in his heart. Was it the right decision for him to visit Murong Xian? He hoped that everything would go smoothly when he returned. Otherwise, who knew what Chu Kuangren would do? Alright, let's go too. Chu Kuangren said to the White Lotus Maiden Sage. Besides him, Lan Yu also went with them to purify the demonic qi. Perhaps her holy radiant physique would be of some use. The few of them hurried to the School of White Lotus. Although they were riding on a ferry boat instead of a horse. At first, Chu Kuangren wanted to ride on the godly phoenix. However, considering that there were too many people and the prideful nature of the divine beast meant that it would not allow anyone else to ride on it, he gave up on the idea. About 2 days later, the few of them arrived at the Full Moon Kingdom, one of the countries to the south of the Azure Dragon domain. This was also the headquarters of the School of White Lotus. Looking down from the sky, Chu Kuangren noticed that the capital of the Full Moon Kingdom was shrouded in a dark mist that exuded an eerie aura. This is demonic qi. Chu Kuangren frowned. Demonic qi was also considered spiritual qi. However, it came from the underworld demonic realm, which was incompatible with the living beings of the firmament star. It was harmful to most living beings. Look, Master. At that moment, Lan Yu pointed at the center of the Full Moon Kingdom's demonic qi. There was a huge white lotus that was formed by countless Taoist patterns floating in the air. It emanated waves of holy qi. There was a lady in the white lotus. She looked peaceful and there was endless Taoist rhymes circulating around her. It was as if she had become one with the white lotus. Below the white lotus was a ferocious dog-like demonic beast with 3 heads and black fur all over its body. Is this the underworld beast? Chu Kuangren had a strange look on his face. A demonic beast from the underworld. A dog with 3 heads. A 3-headed underworld hound. That's right. This is the underworld beast. He has broken through half of the seal. The School of White Lotus Sage is currently suppressing him. The White Lotus Maiden Sage said solemnly. The few of them got off the ferry boat and landed on the streets of the Full Moon Kingdom. Once they landed, they could feel the eerie demonic qi even more clearly. The demonic qi had almost covered half of the Full Moon Kingdom's capital and was still spreading outwards. Meanwhile, the people from the school of White Lotus were trying to dispel the demonic qi. Rays of white light shot out from their hands to dispel the demonic qi. However, compared to the majestic demonic qi, what they did was just a drop in the bucket. All they could do was slow the demonic qi down. In the long run, the demonic qi would eventually spread to the entire capital. Even the entire Full Moon Kingdom and the nearby countries would not be spared. On the streets, countless civilians were kneeling on the ground and praying. God, please protect us. White Lotus above, I hope we can survive this disaster. Besides that, some civilians who had been infected by the demonic qi had lost their minds and were destroying everything around them in a frenzy. The sounds of praying, crying, and smashing, the entire Full Moon Kingdom's capital was in chaos. It was not as peaceful as the last time Chu Kuangren came. Swoosh. A figure walked out of the void. It was Chu Kuangren's protector, Honorable Qing Lan. Looking at everything in front of her, Honorable Qing Lan's eyes were filled with shock and sadness. How did this happen? Sigh, things have changed too quickly. A white-robed lady walked over. It was the White Lotus leader. Chapter 200. Things are changing too quickly. In less than 3 days, this demonic beast has broken through the seal left behind by the sage ruler. A huge amount of demonic qi emanated from its body and affected the entire capital city. Many civilians have been infected by this demonic qi. The White Lotus leader sighed and said, "Were there any signs before this?" Honorable Qing Lan asked. "No. Let's not talk about how the demonic beast broke through the seal. Let's first purify this demonic qi," Chu Kuangren said. The demonic qi that emanated from the three-headed hound was too terrifying. Ordinary civilians would lose their minds the moment they came into contact with it. Even cultivators would lose their minds if they stayed in it for too long. That's why I invited you here, Elder. Our sage is busy suppressing that demonic beast. Only your White Lotus light of purification can effectively dispel the demonic qi, the White Lotus leader said. All right, let's get started then, Chu Kuangren said. As he walked towards the demonic qi, a mysterious Taoist rhyme emanated from his body and white lotuses appeared in the void. The white lotuses danced in the air, and wherever they passed, the demonic qi was quickly disintegrated and turned into nothingness like snow under the scorching sun. A huge amount of demonic qi was swept away. Even the civilians who had been infected by the demonic qi gradually regained their senses after coming into contact with the white lotuses. Where am I? What's going on? Why did I become like that? Is this White Lotus a sage ruler? When the civilians who had regained their senses saw Chu Kuangren surrounded by the white lotuses, they immediately knelt down. The people who had been praying also saw this scene and kowtowed in Chu Kuangren's direction. Their eyes were filled with fanaticism like the most devout believers. It's the sage ruler. The sage ruler has appeared. Boo-hoo, we're saved. This is great. It's the bachelor sage, the only one who has mastered the White Lotus light of purification left behind by the sage ruler. The bachelor sage must be the reincarnation of the sage ruler. Isn't the sage ruler a female? I told you she's reincarnated. It's possible that she's a man or a woman. Behind Chu Kuangren, a white light flashed on Lan Yu's body, and a gorgeous silver-white armor covered her body. She spread her wings and flew above the demonic qi. Endless white light radiated from her body as she activated the holy radiant body's power to the extreme. The Tao body phenomenon shone with a blinding light. Under the illumination of the white light, the demonic qi dissipated bit by bit. That's the oracle. It must be the oracle. Lan Yu's holy aura was especially prominent in the sky full of demonic energy. Many people noticed her at first glance. For a time, the rumor that the Sage King had descended to the mortal world to save the world spread. In the center of the boundless demonic qi, the demonic beast suppressed by the gigantic white lotus let out a series of angry roars as it glared at Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu with a face full of anger. The aura of light, and this abhorrent Taoist rhyme. Is it that whore White Lotus Saint King? No, she should have died a long time ago. It seems like someone has inherited her legacy. Even in death, she won't let me have an easy time. The middle head of the Cerberus roared angrily. Above him, the woman in the white lotus revealed a hint of anger in her eyes. You're asking for trouble for insulting a holy king. Her Taoist rhyme circulated around her as she activated the giant white lotus to suppress the three-headed hound. The three-headed hound's bones cracked. D*MN. You better not let me break this seal. Otherwise I'll eat all of you. Eat all of you. The three-headed hound howled in a frenzy. At that moment, a black-robed figure walked over from afar. This person was walking through the streets that were filled with demonic chi, yet his body was not affected at all. It was as if he had become one with the demonic chi. Who's there? The school of White Lotus sage frowned when she saw that. Oh, this aura is quite interesting. The three-headed hound's eyes lit up when it saw the black-robed figure. It said, I can sense the aura of demonic chi from you. The black-robed figure walked towards the three-headed hound and revealed a skinny face. Then he took out a pitch-black dagger, channeled his spiritual power, and stabbed it at the three-headed hound's neck. With a clang, the dagger pierced the three-headed hound's neck with a metallic sound. A surge of demonic chi erupted, and the mysterious black-robed figure was blasted away by the demonic chi. The three-headed hound's expression became extremely ferocious. Its three heads looked at the black-robed figure, bared its teeth and said, What are you trying to do? TSK, you're indeed a demonic beast comparable to a sage ruler. Even after being sealed for so many years, your body is still indestructible. My soul-devouring dagger can't pierce through your body. The black-robed figure laughed strangely. The school of White Lotus sage was surprised when she saw that. Could this mysterious black-robed figure be an ally? However, the other party gave her an uncomfortable feeling. Soul-devouring dagger? One of the 33 sacred weapons of the demonic world, the soul-devouring dagger. Why is it with you? The three-headed hound's expression changed drastically. It looked at the dagger in the black-robed figure's hand, and fear gradually appeared in its eyes. The 33 sacred weapons of the demonic world were the most terrifying sacred weapons in the demonic world. Each of them was at least a sage ruler weapon. The soul-devouring dagger was one of them. This dagger had one function, and that was to strengthen itself by absorbing the souls of living beings in the demonic world. It was a weapon that countless living beings in the demonic world, and even powerful beings in the demonic world like the three-headed hound, feared. Cut the crap. Hand over your demonic soul. The mysterious black-robed figure activated the spiritual power in his body and poured it into the soul-devouring dagger in his hand. Then he threw it out. The soul-devouring dagger turned into a stream of light and landed on the three-headed hound, which was suppressed by the White Lotus and unable to move. Sparks flew. Finally, under the full power of the mysterious black-robed figure, the dagger finally tore a hole in the three-headed hound's body. It was just an insignificant small hole, but it made the three-headed hound let out an extremely shrill cry. Waves of soul power flowed out from the hole made by the soul-devouring dagger and were absorbed by the mysterious black-robed figure. Oh! As the soul power entered his body, the mysterious black-robed figure revealed an extremely joyful expression. He could feel that his power and cultivation level were increasing rapidly. This was comparable to thousands of years of hard work. My painstaking efforts to break the seal and release you were not in vain. The effect of this soul power is indeed powerful. The mysterious black-robed figure said. Hearing this, the school of White Lotus sage's expression changed. What did you say just now? You were the one who released this demonic beast. That's right. You deserve to die. The school of White Lotus sage's expression darkened. What can you do to me? If you withdraw your spiritual power now, this demonic beast will break the seal. Are you going to ignore the lives of the people of the Great Moon Kingdom and attack me? B** starred. The school of White Lotus sage's pretty face was filled with rage. However, as the mysterious black-robed figure said, she was currently suppressing the three-headed hound and could not leave. Otherwise, if the three-headed hound broke the seal, the entire Great Moon Kingdom and the neighboring countries would be affected. You'd better obediently suppress this demonic beast. When I suck its soul power dry and it dies, it will be considered as having solved a huge problem for you. By then, the school of White Lotus will have to thank me. The mysterious black-robed figure chuckled. Chapter 201. Thank you? I'd be more than happy to kill you. At that moment, a cold voice was suddenly heard. The mysterious black-robed man's expression froze as he looked behind him in disbelief. This is impossible. This is the place with the densest demonic chi. Other than sages, even honorable supremes would be affected if they approach. Who is it? The reason why he dared to release the demonic beast and steal its soul energy while the sages were suppressing it was not only because of his cultivation level and the soul-devouring dagger, but also because he knew that the demonic beast would release a large amount of demonic chi when it broke its seal. That way no one would stop him. However, things had developed beyond his expectations. The black-robed man and the school of White Lotus's sage looked towards the source of the voice. They saw a white-robed figure slowly walking towards them. The newcomer was dressed in a white robe that was spotless. A beautiful sword hung from his waist and he wore white boots. His hair reached his waist, and his facial features were so exquisite that no one could find a single flaw on him. He was surrounded by white lotuses, which added a sense of holiness to his already extraordinary temperament. Wherever he went, the demonic chi would dissipate without affecting him at all. The black-robed man also noticed that the street behind him had already returned to its original state. There was no trace of demonic chi left behind. This person had purified the demonic chi all the way here. At that thought, the black-robed man was shocked. After all, the three-headed hound was a demonic beast that was comparable to a sage ruler. Although it had yet to break its seal and was being suppressed by a sage, the amount of demonic chi that it released was still immeasurable. The entire school of White Lotus had come out in full force, but it only managed to slow down the spread of demonic chi. However, this person could purify it all the way here. White Lotus Light of Purification. Are you the descendant of that B***TCH White Lotus sage ruler? The three-headed hound endured the pain of having its soul energy extracted, and its 3 heads and 6 eyes stared straight at Chu Kuangren. The Taoist rhyme on his body made it extremely unhappy. Dog, stay down there and shut up, Chu Kuangren said indifferently. He then looked at the black-robed man and activated his Eye of Revelation to analyze the person's information. King Wuguan, one of the 10 Yama palaces of the Demonic Cultivator Organization. Honorable Supreme, cultivates the sage techniques, Rakshasa technique, Ender finger. Oh, someone from the Underworld Palace. Chu Kuangren was surprised. When he heard this, the black-robed man's pupils constricted slightly. Never had he imagined that Qin Shi would be able to see through his origins with a single glance. I say, you demonic cultivators sure are having a good time. You keep showing up in front of me. Chu Kuangren's eyes were filled with impatience and disgust. He did not have a good impression of these demonic cultivators at all. It was one thing for her to cause trouble all day long, but she was always causing trouble in front of him. Like a swarm of flies, very annoying. Chu Kuangren. The black-robed man who was King Wuguan, revealed a hint of fear in his eyes. He did not expect Chu Kuangren to show up here. He had heard quite a bit about Chu Kuangren's name in the past few days. If one were to choose who was the most feared person in the demonic orthodoxies this year, there was no doubt that Chu Kuangren would be the best candidate. Elder, this person is currently absorbing the soul strength of a magical beast. The White Lotus School sage said to Chu Kuangren. Oh, that's interesting. Items related to the soul were very rare, and the fact that this demonic cultivator in front of him could absorb soul strength piqued his interest. He glanced at the soul-devouring dagger on the three-headed hound's neck and felt an incomparably strange aura from it. Moreover, there seemed to be an invisible connection between this dagger and King Wuguan. Is this how you extract the soul strength? Chu Kuangren's figure turned into a stream of light and appeared in front of the three-headed hound. His speed was so fast that King Wuguan could not even catch a glimpse of him. His pupils shrunk as he knew that he was no match for Chu Kuangren. Everyone says that this person's cultivation level is not high, but his combat strength is heaven-defying. So that's how it is. King Wuguan was shocked. Chu Kuangren, even a sage has to use all his strength to suppress this magical beast. You should know how terrifying it is. I'm using the soul-devouring dagger to kill it now. I'm helping you guys. King Wuguan said loudly. For your own selfish reasons, you released the magical beast, causing countless civilians to suffer, and now you're telling me that you're helping us? You demonic cultivators are quite good at distorting the truth. As he spoke, Chu Kuangren raised his hand and unleashed a palm attack. The majestic human mountain strength instantly erupted and sent King Wuguan flying. The 10 Yama palaces of the Underworld Palace? That's quite a name, but this is all you've got. Do you guys even deserve to be called the Underworld Palace? Chu Kuangren's figure turned into a stream of light and once again appeared in front of King Wuguan. The Battle Monarch domain erupted, and the 5 great foundation levels within his body shone brightly. His spiritual power surged and instantly suppressed King Wuguan, who still wanted to resist. Chu Kuangren reached out and grabbed King Wuguan's neck, lifting him into the air like a little chick. He said coldly, some time ago one of you guys called the Chakra King was killed by me. Now it's your turn. Perhaps in the future, I'll find an opportunity to annihilate your so-called Underworld Palace. Not far away, the school of White Lotus sage gulped as she watched. She had heard rumors about Chu Kuangren before and knew that he was powerful, but she did not expect him to be this powerful. An honorable supreme could not even fight back in front of him? How was this a battle monarch? She would believe him even if he were a sage. Kuangren. King Wuguan's face flushed red as he uttered word by word. Following that, An extremely powerful force suddenly erupted from his body. Under this force, Chu Kuangren was forced to retreat a few meters. "Oh, you've gotten stronger." Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. The aura on King Wuguan's body continued to skyrocket, especially his Taoist rhymes. It was a world of difference from before. Chu Kuangren activated his Eye of Revelation to analyze King Wuguan's situation. Spiritual power increasing, Taoist rhymes increasing, a large amount of soul energy is being burned. Originating from the three-headed demonic beast, the analysis information flashed before his eyes one by one. At that moment, the three-headed hound beside him let out a scream, and the demonic chi on its body fluctuated violently due to the intense pain. Due to the analysis results of the Eye of Revelation, Chu Kuangren instantly determined the reason for its scream. He could not help but chuckle. A dignified sage ruler-level demonic beast has been reduced to a lackey, having its soul burned by an honorable. You're really a disgrace as a sage ruler. Soul Devourer dagger, it's all? Damn it. Soul Devourer dagger. The three-headed hound roared in anger. Chu Kuangren ignored it and looked at King Wuguan instead. If he removed the Soul Devourer dagger from the three-headed hound's body, King Wuguan would no longer have any soul energy to burn, and naturally he would not be able to level up. However, he did not do that. Removing the Soul Devourer dagger was equivalent to helping the three-headed hound. He was quite happy to see King Wuguan continue to hurt the three-headed hound, so it would be easier for him to deal with him later. Chu Kuangren die. King Wuguan did not think as much as Chu Kuangren. He frantically burned the soul energy that he extracted from the three-headed hound, turning it into his cultivation in an attempt to kill Chu Kuangren. Chapter 202. Chu Kuangren die. With a furious roar, the Taoist rhymes around King Wuguan boiled, and the spiritual power that was mixed with the three-headed hound's soul power surged wildly. He looked like a demon yet not a demon, like a human yet not a human. Een absolute finger. As soon as he pointed his finger out, a monstrous amount of finger strength instantly erupted, and a chilling and domineering Taoist rhyme locked onto Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren stood his ground and did not move an inch. The white lotuses surrounded him, and when the finger energies landed on the white lotuses, they disintegrated into nothingness. The sage of the school of White Lotus was slightly surprised. I can't believe Chu Kuangren has mastered the White Lotus light of purification to such an extent. I'm afraid he's already at the level of a sage ruler. Chu Kuangren's understanding of the White Lotus light of purification was already on par with the White Lotus sage ruler. The only thing he lacked now was his cultivation level. Is that all? A hint of disappointment flashed across Chu Kuangren's eyes. He was able to kill honorable supremes when he was in the late stage of the battle monarch realm. Now that he was only half a step away from the honorable realm, he could even step into the honorable realm at any time if he wanted to. Honorable supremes were nothing to him. At this time, King Wuguan had ignited the Cerberus's soul power, and his battle prowess had multiplied. However, he still hadn't broken through the realm of honorable supreme. Could it be that the wound is too small and you didn't absorb enough soul power? As Chu Kuangren spoke, he walked towards the three-headed hound, grabbed the soul-devouring dagger, and pressed it hard into its body. With a poochie sound, the soul-devouring dagger pierced deep into the Cerberus's body, widening the wound by more than 10 times. He could feel his soul power depleting even faster. Motherfucker! The three-headed hound roared and glared at Chu Kuangren. Even King Wuguan and the school of White Lotus's sage were stunned by Chu Kuangren's actions. They stared at him with their mouths agape. What was he doing? Giving aid to the enemy? The influx of a large amount of soul power caused King Wuguan's skinny body to expand rapidly like a balloon. King Wuguan's expression changed, and he hurriedly used his spiritual power to ignite the soul power that was crazily surging towards him, causing his strength to soar once again. The unprecedented power made King Wuguan feel as if he could control everything, and he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Power? Endless power. Chu Kuangren, you're too full of yourself. Today you will pay the price for your arrogance. King Wuguan said loudly. Once again he pointed his finger and unleashed his sage technique, the Yin terminating finger. Majestic Taoist rhymes and spiritual power converged to form a giant black finger that was so solid that it was almost tangible. It then pressed towards Chu Kuangren with its shadow and raging winds. This power was extremely terrifying. Even a supreme being wouldn't be able to block this attack. This strike already possesses the battle prowess of a quasi-sage. The sage of the school of White Lotus said solemnly. However, Chu Kuangren remained calm in the face of that finger attack. White lotuses circled around his body, but when they collided with the finger attack, the white lotuses continuously shattered and withered. Even Chu Kuangren himself was forced back several feet by that finger attack. Ha, that's more like it. Come take a look at this. Chu Kuangren smiled and took out the sacred emerald sword case. With a pat on the sword case, 4 treasured swords flew out and surrounded King Wuguan's body, forming the 4-season sword formation. What is this? Sword array? Humph, you want to stop me with such a small sword formation? King Wuguan sneered and pointed out with a finger. Violent Taoist rhymes bombarded the sword formation. The void trembled as it collided with the sword chi. However, even with King Wuguan's peerless combat strength, he still could not break through the sword formation. This sword formation is so strong. King Wuguan was shocked, but his hands did not stop. One finger after another, the violent finger attack continuously impacted the sword formation. The 4-season sword formation was shaken. Seeing that, Chu Kuangren patted the sword case a few more times. Another 8 long swords flew out. The 12 treasured swords hovered in the void, strengthening the sword formation's power. The sword formation that was originally shaken became even more stable. This sword formation can be strengthened? D*****. King Wuguan's expression sank. The school of White Lotus Sage was amazed. This Chu Kuangren really has an endless number of tricks up his sleeves. I wonder how many more trump cards he has. She had never heard of Chu Kuangren using a sword formation before. There was no such rumor in the outside world either. Chu Kuangren activated the sword formation and only trapped King Wuguan without killing him. Under such circumstances, the 3-headed hound's soul energy was rapidly depleting. Gradually, the 3-headed hound felt that its mind was becoming hazy. Young lad, hurry up and kill this guy. Chu Kuangren glanced at it but did not do anything. Are you waiting for him to suck my soul energy dry before you attack? The 3-headed hound's 3 heads roared in unison. Why not? You? The 3-headed hound was enraged and a fierce look appeared in its eyes. If that's the case, then let's die together. It then took the initiative to burn its soul energy to increase its demonic chi. The surging demonic chi was boiling, crazily attacking the White Lotus. Not good, this demonic beast is trying to perish together with us. The school of White Lotus sages' expression changed. The White Lotus that was formed by countless Taoist patterns began to crack under the impact of the demonic chi. Inside the sword formation, King Wuguan also noticed the 3-headed hound's strange behavior. He who was struggling to break through the sword formation laughed out loud. Chu Kuangren, you've gone too far this time. Let's see what you're going to do next. Instead of worrying about us, why don't you worry about yourself? Chu Kuangren moved his thoughts. Inside the sword formation, the power of the 4 seasons rotation converged and turned into a giant sword shadow. With a majestic force, it smashed towards King Wuguan. No. Under this power, King Wuguan had no strength to resist at all. In just an instant he was blasted into a cloud of blood mist. There's no use killing him now. Once the soul ignition technique is activated, there's no stopping it. Now all I want to do is to drag all of you in the southern countries down with me. The 3-headed hound's eyes were bloodshot as it roared madly. Terrifying demonic chi attacked the White Lotus, causing the school of White Lotus sages' face to turn pale. Not good, I can't suppress it any longer. Once he breaks free in his current state, he'll kill every living being in the Full Moon Kingdom in less than an hour. The school of White Lotus sage was extremely anxious. He won't have that chance. Chu Kuangren said calmly. Suddenly, a pitch-black chain that emanated a gloomy chi appeared in his hand. It was the soul retriever. Soul ignition? You must have a soul to burn first. The soul retriever swung out and pierced into the 3-headed hound's body. Come out. Chu Kuangren let out a low growl as he continuously channeled his spiritual power into the soul retriever. Then the 3-headed hound's soul was slowly pulled out of its physical body. Unlike the souls that were pulled out in the past, this 3-headed hound's soul seemed to have an invisible flame burning on it. A large amount of soul energy was constantly dissipating. Chu Kuangren did not need to do anything. It would not take long for this soul to burn itself out. It would be fine if the 3-headed hound's soul was still in its physical body. The burning soul energy could be turned into a demonic chi catalyst, allowing it to explode with terrifying power. Now, however, it could only stare blankly at the soul energy being burned away by itself. There was no way for it to gain any benefits. Soul retriever. What the hell is this thing? The 3-headed hound's soul looked at the chain on its body. All 6 eyes on its 3 heads were filled with horror. Chapter 203. The three-headed hound's soul was bound by the soul retriever, and it struggled to break free, causing the entire soul retriever to tremble. Woe, as expected of a sage ruler's soul. Even after so much of its soul energy has been sucked away, it's still so energetic. Chu Kuangren raised an eyebrow and continuously channeled his spiritual power into the soul retriever. Only then was he able to restrain his opponent. Let me go. Let me go. The three-headed hound kept roaring, but it still could not break free. The soul devourer dagger had absorbed too much of its soul energy, and now that it had self-immolated its soul, more than half of its soul energy had been depleted. No matter how hard it struggled, it could not break free from the soul retriever. In addition, the soul retriever released a chilling chi that could paralyze one's soul, causing it to gradually lose its strength. After a while, Chu Kuangren yanked the soul retriever, and the sage ruler's soul disappeared from the world just like that. Phew, it's a success. The school of White Lotus's sage breathed a sigh of relief. The white lotuses that filled the sky disappeared. The giant white lotuses that were formed from countless Taoist patterns were already on the verge of collapse under the impact of the demonic chi. After the school of White Lotus's sage withdrew her spiritual power, it could no longer hold on. Cracks appeared on the lotuses and they shattered into countless light spots. As for the soulless three-headed hound, it lay on the ground with demonic chi and ferocious chi lingering on its body. Greetings, Brother Chu. The school of White Lotus's sage came before Chu Kuangren and bowed. You're too kind. Chu Kuangren returned the gesture. It's all thanks to your help this time. Otherwise, I don't know how things would have turned out. It's my duty. Besides, I still have the title of the school of White Lotus's supreme elder on me. Besides, the school of White Lotus and the Black Heaven sect are allies. How could I just sit back and watch? Chu Kuangren said. Then, he looked at the corpse of the three-headed hound on the ground with a fiery look in his eyes. To him this was a great treasure. How much blood and flesh essence could be refined from the corpse of a sage ruler? It was enough for him to form the supreme honorable foundation level. Seeing that Chu Kuangren was interested in the three-headed hound's carcass, the school of White Lotus's sage said, Brother Chu, you've helped the school of White Lotus this time by protecting the billions of lives in the southern countries. The school of White Lotus doesn't know how to thank you for that. If you're interested in this demonic beast's carcass, you can have it. Ha, then I won't hold back then. Chu Kuangren did not hesitate and kept the three-headed hound's carcass into his yin and yang ring. The school of White Lotus's sage smiled. Although the corpse of a demonic beast that was as powerful as a sage ruler was precious, the three-headed hound came from the underworld demonic realm and had demonic chi on its body that was difficult to use. Hence, it was better to give it to Chu Kuangren. It was both a way to thank him and a way to get closer to him. Even a sage like her had to take Chu Kuangren's display of talent, strength, and technique seriously. She was more than willing to take advantage of this situation. Young master. At that moment, Lan Yu flapped her wings and came to Chu Kuangren's side. Most of the demonic energy has been dispersed. Senior Qing Lan and the others are dealing with the remaining small amounts of demonic energy. I believe it won't be long before they are completely gone, Lan Yu said. Okay, I got it. This time, the demonic beast's seal breaking has finally been averted, the school of White Lotus's sage said, completely relieved. Thank you, Bachelor Sage. We will never forget the Bachelor Sage's great kindness. Bachelor Sage, you have done us a great service. Commoners gradually walked out from both sides of the street. They knelt before Chu Kuangren and kowtowed with great sincerity. They did not know that Chu Kuangren was already the school of White Lotus's supreme elder. However, to them, it did not matter whether he was a bachelor sage or an elder. It did not affect Chu Kuangren's high position in their hearts. Chu Kuangren saw that some of these people were dressed in tattered clothes and looked exhausted. Some of them were injured and bleeding profusely. Even so, they still knelt before Chu Kuangren and looked at him, expressing their gratitude. Chu Kuangren took a step forward and a mysterious Taoist rhyme emanated from his body. That Taoist rhyme was mixed with a gentle spiritual power that spread out and brushed across everyone's body like a spring breeze. Everyone who was originally tired suddenly became energetic, and those who were injured also quickly recovered from their injuries. Even those who were suffering from old illnesses felt their bodies become much more relaxed. My injuries are healed. Me too. I've been suffering from a cold leg for many years, but now I can move freely again. I'm all right now. Bachelor Sage, it's all thanks to you. Thank you, Bachelor Sage. Thank you, Bachelor Sage. Chu Kuangren smiled in satisfaction as he looked at the people who had recovered. It seems that this spring breeze healing technique is quite useful. The spring breeze healing technique was an emperor technique recorded in the Eternal Emperor scripture. It was an emperor technique that was specifically used to restore vitality. However, since Chu Kuangren had the immortal body, he felt that this emperor technique would not be of much use to him, so he did not study it. However, it seemed that this emperor technique was not meant for him. If anything were to happen in the future, it would not be a bad idea to use it to save others. Chu Kuangren walked on the street with Lan Yu with him. Taoist rhyme emanated from his body as the spring breeze blew. Wherever he went, withered trees were revived, including those who were injured in this disaster. This scene was like a miracle. Countless people knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Chu Kuangren as he walked away. In an instant, Chu Kuangren's status in the hearts of the Full Moon Kingdom citizens skyrocketed. He was almost on par with the School of White Lotus leader. The School of White Lotus's sage could not help but shake her head as she witnessed everything that had happened. This kid is decisive in killing his enemies, but he's also benevolent. He's a sage on the inside and a king on the outside. Coupled with his talent, he's a rare talent. She was even more determined to build a good relationship with Chu Kuangren. After dealing with the demonic beasts, Chu Kuangren did not return to the Black Heaven sect immediately. Instead, he found a secluded spot in the School of White Lotus. This dagger is quite interesting. Chu Kuangren played with the soul-devouring dagger that he had pulled out from the three-headed hound's body. Since it was related to soul energy, it was obvious how extraordinary this dagger was. He tossed it into his yin and yang ring, planning to refine it when he had the time. Now, he wanted to refine the three-headed hound and break through to the honorable realm. He spent a total of 10 days in this closed-door meditation. The three-headed hound's flesh and blood essence was so majestic that Chu Kuangren suspected that even an ordinary sage ruler would not have such a majestic amount of flesh and blood essence. After spending 10 days to refine the three-headed hound, the amount of flesh and blood essence that he had obtained was almost inestimable. Coupled with the treasures that he had obtained from the gacha previously, it allowed him to form the Supreme Honorable Foundation level in one fell swoop. Buzz buzz. On this day the void trembled. A mysterious Taoist rhyme emanated from Chu Kuangren's closed-door meditation spot, and Taoist rhymes began to reverberate in the sky. All the cultivators in the School of White Lotus were shocked. Even the sages could not help but shudder as they looked towards the direction of Chu Kuangren's closed-door meditation spot. A large amount of spiritual qi gathered above Chu Kuangren's closed-door meditation spot, forming a huge, solid spiritual qi vortex. The spiritual qi was so dense that it made the air feel sticky. It was as if water could drip out at any time. The cultivators who rushed over were shocked by the dense spiritual qi. Then an even more shocking scene happened. In the sky above Chu Kuangren, lines of Taoist patterns began to circulate and gradually condensed into ancient golden runes. Every single one of these talisman markings was drawn out smoothly with a single stroke, and they seemed to be formed by nature and were extremely profound. 1, 2, 3. 9 runes. One of the cultivators could not help but gulp as he said in shock. The crowd then saw the 9 runes that were drawn in a single stroke begin to combine into an ancient, majestic talisman. The talisman emanated a dazzling golden light in the sky, and waves of Taoist rhymes surrounded it as if it was interpreting the essence of Taoism. 9 strokes Taoist rhymes. Supreme Honorable Foundation level. Chapter 204. The 9 strokes Taoist seal, the Supreme Honorable Foundation level. All the cultivators from the School of White Lotus were dumbfounded. In the past 150,000 years, no one had ever managed to form the Supreme Honorable Foundation level. It was no longer a question of whether it was rare or not. There was no such thing. This must be the residence of the Supreme Elder. Yes, besides him, can you think of anyone else who could form the Supreme Honorable Foundation level? There's no one else but him. I remember that the Supreme Elder had formed several Supreme Foundation levels before. The Supreme Elder is going to defy the heavens. The Supreme Elder's foundation level is too terrifying. Even the School of White Lotus's sage was speechless. She had witnessed something that no one had been able to do for hundreds of thousands of years. Apart from spiritual power, the formation of the Supreme Honorable Foundation level is also crucial for one's Tao techniques, especially the latter. Brother Chu's Tao techniques are no weaker than a sage's, so it makes sense that he could form such a foundation level. The School of White Lotus's sage murmured. Chu Kuangren was just too much of a genius. The transformations in the sky dispersed. Inside the room, Chu Kuangren sat on his bed with golden light circulating around his body. Countless Taoist patterns intertwined, and his body had a golden jade-like luster. Inside his body, the 6 supreme foundation levels radiated with divine light, and as the spiritual power surged, Taoist rhymes seemed to reverberate. Chu Kuangren slowly opened his eyes, and a smile appeared on his handsome face. Supreme Honorable Foundation Level. I finally succeeded. He felt that his current strength was far stronger than before. Whether it was his spiritual power or his Tao techniques, they had all improved tremendously. Even if it was a quasi-sage, he was confident that he could defeat the other party without using his sword formation or monarch technique. As for the sages, it was hard to say since they had not fought before. However, even if he could not win, he would not lose. Although it sounded a little unbelievable because to countless cultivators, everyone below the sages were like ants. The gap between sages and those below them was too big. However, Chu Kuangren had just ascended to the honorable realm, yet he was confident that he was no weaker than a sage. If word of this got out, it would cause a huge commotion. Chu Kuangren got up and walked out of the room. Outside the door was Lan Yu, who had been guarding him, as well as a large group of cultivators who were attracted by the Martial Venerables Foundation anomaly. At that moment, everyone looked at Chu Kuangren with admiration. Even the Chosens who had wanted to compete with him previously were convinced of his superiority, and no longer had any thoughts of going against him. The gap was too big. They weren't on the same level at all. And when this gap was large to a certain extent, everyone's original envy and jealousy might turn into fanatical worship. Fellow Taoist Chu, congratulations on successfully advancing to the venerable realm. The sage of the school of White Lotus walked over and said with a smile. It's just fate, Chu Kuangren said. After that, Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu stayed in the Full Moon Kingdom for a few days. Just as they were about to return to the Black Heaven sect, Elder Rian sent Chu Kuangren a message. Taoist Murong Xian had asked the sect for help. Upon hearing this news, Chu Kuangren's eyes flashed with a cold light. Did the Murong clan not take my warning seriously? Before Murong Xian left, Chu Kuangren had warned Murong Feng. But now it seemed that Murong Xian had still encountered some unfair treatment in the Murong clan, causing a proud Taoist to ask for help from the sect. Contact Murong Xian and ask him what happened. We can't reach him. After we received the message asking for help, we contacted Murong Xian, but he didn't respond. If I'm not wrong, he must be under the control of the Murong clan or even imprisoned. Elder Rian's solemn voice came from the communication compass. Upon hearing that, Chu Kuangren's eyes turned even colder. What a Murong clan. Looks like I'll have to pay them a visit myself. As a Taoist of the Black Heaven sect, Murong Xian was his junior brother and his little fan. Whether it was for business or personal reasons, Chu Kuangren could not just sit back and watch. Sect leader, the Murong clan is still a sage orthodoxy with a sage in charge. It's too risky for you to go there yourself. How about this, let the third forefather and the others go and negotiate with them first. Elder Rian suggested. No matter what, Murong Xian is my junior brother. Now that he's been wronged by the Murong clan, I can't just stand by and do nothing. Negotiation is fine too, but let's talk about it after we beat him up. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Elder Rian felt helpless when she heard that. However, when she thought about it, she realized that what Chu Kuangren said made sense. Although Murong Xian was a member of the Murong clan, he had been a Taoist of the Black Heaven sect for many years. If he was really treated unfairly by the Murong clan and kept giving in, it would only make the Black Heaven sect look weak. Alright, that's all for now. I'll make a move first. Chu Kuangren ended the call with Elder Rian. After that, he departed for the Murong clan. The Murong clan was located in the Black Warrior domain, which was quite far away from the school of White Lotus where Chu Kuangren was. It would take a few days even if he took the ferry boat. On the ferry boat, Chu Kuangren stood against the wind. A hint of worry flashed across his eyes, but it was soon replaced by a fierce look. Murong clan, I hope you don't go overboard. Chu Kuangren collected his thoughts, opened the roulette, and started the gacha roulette. Congratulations host, you have obtained a Starlight grade item, Elusive Mirage. Elusive Mirage? A replica of it? Chu Kuangren's face darkened. What the hell did I just get? However, it was still a Starlight grade item. Chu Kuangren curiously opened his inventory and looked at the Elusive Mirage. This is, his eyes lit up. In one of the slots in his inventory, there was a large, pitch-black ship that was covered in ancient golden patterns. I didn't expect the Elusive Mirage to be a ferry boat. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Retrieve the Elusive Mirage. He commanded in his mind. Suddenly, a gigantic black ferry boat appeared above the sea of clouds. The ferry boat was so huge that it looked like an ancient beast. The ferry boat that Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu were on was like a small boat in front of the elusive mirage. It was not even worth mentioning. The elusive mirage was mainly black, and it shone with a gloomy luster under the sunlight. On the deck there were rows of pavilions of different styles. There were fake mountains, gardens, and rare beasts. How was this a ferry boat? It was clearly a floating palace. If this is just a replica, then what does the real elusive mirage look like? Chu Kuangren was a little shocked. Beside him, Lan Yu's mouth was also slightly open. She was extremely shocked. Lan Yu, switch to another ferry boat, Chu Kuangren said as he kept the ferry boat under his feet and went to the elusive mirage. As soon as he stepped on the elusive mirage, a mysterious feeling surged in Chu Kuangren's heart. It was as if he had become one with the elusive mirage. In an instant he controlled everything about the elusive mirage. Let's go. Chu Kuangren commanded in his mind. The Taoist patterns on the surface of the elusive mirage glowed with a golden light. It was as if an ancient beast had awakened from its slumber. Then, spiritual power gathered at the tail of the elusive mirage, forming two giant whirlpools that erupted with a terrifying propulsion force. The elusive mirage shot into the distance, leaving behind two giant white scars in the sea of clouds behind it. Chapter 205. Black Warrior Domain Murong Clan. At this moment, in one of the woodshed in the Murong clan, a young man with both hands shackled and full of scars was lying on the ground. This person was Murong Xian, who had come to participate in the Murong clan's trial. Footsteps could be heard coming from outside the woodshed. A few young men and women walked up as if they had planned it beforehand. "Oh, third young master, you're still alive." Murong Hai could not help but laugh when he saw Murong Xian in the woodshed. "Nonsense, of course we have to keep him alive. We still have to keep him alive to see how we're going to move his lowly mother's grave tomorrow." A woman smiled playfully. Murong Xian's eyes lit up when he heard this. He raised his head and glared at Murong Hai and the others. "If you dare touch my mother, I'll turn into an evil spirit even if I have to die. I'll make sure you die a horrible death." "Oh my, I'm so scared. Turning into an evil spirit? What a joke." "Don't say that. Doesn't he look like a ghost now?" The crowd mocked Murong Xian. Murong Hai squatted down and looked at Murong Xian coldly. "Do you really think you can make a comeback after becoming a Taoist of the Black Heaven sect? Stop dreaming. It's the young emperor and his mother's idea to move your mother out of the clan mausoleum. You know that the young emperor's mother has always been brooding over your mother's death. How could she let her lie in the clan mausoleum and receive incense offerings from others? It's already good enough that she didn't drag her out and whip her corpse. All right. Do you know where we're going to move your mother's grave? Isn't there a mass grave outside the city? Oh my, the people who died there are all beggars and peasants. They stink to the heavens. It's perfect for your lowly mother to be with them." Murong Hai's words made Murong Xian's eyes turn red with hatred. He roared like a wild beast. "I'll kill you." He charged at Murong Hai but was sent flying with a kick. He crashed into a pile of firewood and could not fight back at all. "Your meridians are destroyed, your spiritual mound is damaged, and your limbs are tied up. You're like a dead dog now. How dare you try to fight back?" Murong Hai spat and laughed as he turned around and left. The others looked at Murong Xian with disdain before following Murong Hai out of the dirty and messy woodshed. Murong Xian was the only one left in the woodshed, lying on the ground. There were a few pieces of firewood lying on top of his body, but he did not move at all. It was as if he was dead. There is no greater sorrow than a dead heart. Another person arrived outside the woodshed. It was Murong Feng. He stared at Murong Xian, who was lying on the ground in a sorry state. A hint of anger flashed across his eyes. "They're here to cause you trouble again." Hearing the voice, Murong Xian asked, "Does it have anything to do with you?" Murong Feng was silent for a moment before he sighed. "Perhaps I shouldn't have told you this news. I shouldn't have brought you back. You said before that as long as I display sufficient results in the clan's training and receive the attention of the elders, I would be able to protect my mother. But now I have become a cripple. Everything is useless. I didn't expect them to be so ruthless. They actually secretly hired people from the Blackstain Plumes to deal with you." Murong Feng sighed. He had underestimated the shamelessness of Murong Hai and Murong Yu. "What's the point of saying all this now? I'll look for your father and ask him to let you off the hook." "Father?" Hee. Murong Xian let out a low chuckle. "He never cared about me in the past. Now that I've become a cripple, Do you think he'll create a rift between him and his promising eldest son Morongyu over a cripple? The word father disgusts me. In any case, I'll try my best. You have the Black Heaven sect as your background, so the Morong clan will definitely be wary of you. After that, Morong Fong sighed and left. He suddenly remembered Chu Kuangren's warning when he brought Morong Shen back. The uneasiness in his heart gradually grew. Now that things had developed to this point, it had long exceeded his expectations. Black Heaven sect leader, Morong Shen murmured. Compared to the Morong clan, the Black Heaven sect was his home. He also knew that Chu Kuangren would not give up on him. He even guessed that Chu Kuangren was on his way to the Morong clan. Unfortunately, the Black Heaven sect and the Morong clan were too far apart. By the time Chu Kuangren arrived, his mother would have already been thrown into the mass grave. Thinking of this, Morong Shen was filled with grief and anger. The next day, the Morong clan was paying their respects to their ancestors in front of the clan mausoleum. The Morong clan's head, elders, and even disciples from the main branch were all present. The clan's trial has come to a successful end. I hereby pray to our ancestors. May our ancestors bless the Morong clan for all eternity. The Morong clan's head led the crowd to the clan mausoleum and offered incense. After a long while, the long and tedious ceremony was over. Men opened the clan mausoleum. Beside the Morong clan's head, a noble woman dressed in a luxurious robe with a hairpin on her head ordered loudly. The Morong clan's head watched from the side and did not stop her. The clan mausoleum opened. A few disciples who had been notified beforehand walked in and carried out a black coffin in a short while. The noble woman said calmly, "Within the clan mausoleum are the ancestors who have made great contributions to the Morong clan. They are all of high status. This lowly servant girl has neither virtue nor talent. Placing her inside will only disturb the ancestors' peace. Hence today we shall move her to another place for burial." As soon as she said that, many of the Morong clan's disciples started to whisper among themselves. "I heard that the mistress will move the Ning clan out of the clan mausoleum today. I thought it was just a rumor, but it turned out to be true. TSK, the Ning clan has been dead for so long and now they're moving her grave. She really can't rest in peace. How pitiful. I heard that the Ning clan was just a servant girl back then, but the master took a liking to her and took her in as a concubine. She gave birth to Morong Shen, but because the main wife, the Lin clan, was dissatisfied, the mother and son were slowly neglected. Yeah, the Lin clan is a top-notch honorable orthodoxy. The Ning clan is just a servant girl with no background. How could she win against the Lin clan? The master only had a crush on her for a while. Scumbag. Shu, do you want to die? Don't spout nonsense. In the crowd, Morong Hai gave a look to someone next to him. That person understood and left the scene. Soon, that person dragged Morong Shen to a corner and made him watch as his mother's coffin was taken away. Mother. Morong Shen's eyes were bloodshot as if he had gone mad. However, he could not break free from that person's grip. At that moment, Morong Hai rolled his eyes and a playful smile appeared on his face. He flicked his finger and shot a ray of energy at the knee of the disciple who was carrying the coffin. The disciple could not help but fall to the ground in pain. The coffin also fell to the ground and the lid was lifted. A skeleton fell out and was exposed to the sunlight. Morong Shen felt his blood rushing to his head and his mind was about to explode. Mother. With a roar, he used all his strength to break free from the person behind him and ran toward the coffin. However, before he could take more than a few steps, he was pressed to the ground by a domain energy and could not move. The person who attacked him was the Morong clan's young emperor, Morongyu. This is the Morong clan's memorial ceremony. How dare you act so presumptuously? Morongyu said coldly. Morong Hai and the others looked at Morong Shen with gloating expressions. Morong Fong could not stand it anymore and wanted to stop him. However, at that moment, the sky suddenly turned dark. Chapter 206. In the city where the Morong clan resided. At that moment, countless people walked out of the streets and were dumbfounded when they saw the huge shadow in the sky. What's that? It's a ship. It's a ship. What a huge ship. What ship? That's a ferry boat that can fly in the sky. But my goodness, this is the first time I've seen such a huge ferry boat. Is that a ferry boat? I'd believe it even if you said it was an immortal palace. It's huge. Above the city, the gigantic elusive mirage soared into the sky. Chu Kuangren stood on the deck and looked down. This is the city where the Morong clan resides. I'm finally here. Based on the normal speed of a ferry boat, it would take him 2 to 3 days to reach there. However, things were different with the elusive mirage. Although the elusive mirage looked huge, its speed was extremely fast. After a day and a night, he had arrived at the Morong clan. Next, let me find the location of the Morong family. Chu Kuangren murmured as his spiritual thought surged out. Soon he found the Morong clan. However, when he saw what was happening in the Morong clan, his expression turned cold. Damn you, Morong clan. I'm not going to forgive you for what you've done today. Inside the Morong clan, the elusive mirage soared into the sky, forming a huge shadow. The sky seemed to have turned dark. Looking at the gigantic ferry boat in the sky, everyone was dumbfounded. It was their first time seeing a ferry boat of such scale. My goodness, whose ferry boat is this? You're telling me this is a boat? Who is it? I've never heard of any orthodoxy in the firmament star owning a ferry boat like this, not even the sage orthodoxies. Could it be a new warship built by some dynasty? There's no logo on it. The crowd discussed among themselves. Meanwhile, the Morong clan's head and the group of elders stared at the elusive mirage with excitement in their eyes. What a mysterious Taoist pattern and this aura. This ferry boat is not as simple as just being huge. If the Morong clan has a ferry boat like this, our foundation will definitely be strengthened. Who does this ferry boat belong to? Among the crowd, Morong Feng's uneasiness was magnified when he saw the elusive mirage because he sensed a familiar aura. Swoosh! 2 figures suddenly descended from the elusive mirage. Everyone turned to look and shock appeared on their faces. It really is him. Morong Feng's pupils shrunk slightly as he looked at Chu Kuangren and said, May I know who you are, Brother Taoist? May I ask? One of the elders walked up to Chu Kuangren, wanting to inquire about his background. Scram! Chu Kuangren lifted his hand and unleashed a palm attack. The terrifying human mountain Taoist rhymes exploded. Before the elder could even react, he was blasted to the point of vomiting blood and smashed into the wall far away. What? How dare you come to my Morong family and cause trouble? The expressions of Master Morong and the others changed. Just as they were about to make their move, Morong Feng hurriedly stood in front of them and said, Stop, this person is the Black Heaven sect leader. Hearing this, everyone turned pale with fright. As for those who had been to the Hidden Sword Canyon, namely Morong Yu, Morong Hai and the others, they looked at Chu Kuangren with fear in their eyes. Chu Kuangren. I can't believe he's here. So be it. It's just him and that woman beside him. What kind of storm can the two of them cause? That's right, this is our Morong family's territory. Everyone stared at Chu Kuangren ready to attack at any time. However, he only slowly walked up to Morong Xian. When he sensed the domain energy that was pressing down on him, he raised his hand and a white lotus bloomed, disintegrating Morong Yu's domain almost instantly. His strength? Morong Yu's expression changed. He felt that Chu Kuangren was stronger than before. And it was not just by a little bit. How could this be? How long had it been since the trip to the Sword Gauntlet? After the domain dissipated, Morong Xian hurriedly ran to the coffin. With tears in his eyes, he carefully picked up the corpse on the ground. Chu Kuangren followed him in silence. He could feel the immense grief and anger for Morong Xian. Mother, it's my fault for not being filial enough to protect you, Morong Xian said with a trembling voice. Behind him, Chu Kuangren's body also trembled when he heard that. He looked at the corpse on the ground in disbelief. That was Morong Xian's mother. It seemed that Morong Xian's mother had been dead for a long time, yet the Morong family treated a dead person like that in front of Morong Xian. At that thought, Chu Kuangren's chest burned with unprecedented anger. His cold gaze swept across everyone at the scene. He placed his hand on Morong Xian's shoulder and said, Don't worry. I'm here. You're no longer alone. He glanced at the clan's mausoleum not far away and walked towards it. Everyone was surprised and bewildered. What was he trying to do? The Morong family's head went up to him. Black Heaven sect leader, I don't think it's a good idea for you to come out of nowhere and interfere with the Morong family's internal affairs. Chu Kuangren did not even look at him. He raised his hand and unleashed a palm attack. Even the Morong family's head could not withstand the violent human mountain strength. His entire body was blasted away like a cannonball. How dare you? You attacked without saying anything. You're too rude and arrogant. Stop him. The Morong family's elders attacked Chu Kuangren one after another. Surges of sword chi exploded and interweaved into a sword net in the void. A cold ray of light shot out from Chu Kuangren's eyes. The descendant's self-sword at his waist was unsheathed, and an unparalleled purple sword ray instantly erupted, accompanied by his rage. The sword ray tore through the sword net like a hot knife through butter. The sword chi's aftermath even sent the elders flying. The sword chi's target was not them. It was the Murong family's clan mausoleum. Not good. Quick, stop him. The Murong family's head and the elders were furious. Murong Fong immediately made his move. The contending sun sword unleashed an extremely cold sword chi in an attempt to block Chu Kuangren's attack. However, it was useless. In the past, he could not even block a single attack from Chu Kuangren. Today, Chu Kuangren was no longer the same as before. It was even more impossible for him to block it. The sword ray shattered. Murong Fong, like the other elders, was swept away by the sword chi's aftermath. He could only watch helplessly as the purple sword ray landed on the clan mausoleum. Amidst the loud explosion, a large number of stones shattered. The clan mausoleum collapsed under the attack of the sword, and the coffins were either broken or fell to the ground. At that moment, all the disciples of the Murong family felt a great sense of humiliation. They looked at Chu Kuangren with eyes that could devour him whole. He had destroyed the Murong family's mausoleum. Those who were buried there were the ancestors of the Murong family. Murong Xian is a Taoist of my Black Heaven sect. His mother is also a member of my Black Heaven sect. Since you've caused his birth mother to be unable to rest in peace, I'll make sure that all the ancestors of the Murong clan die without a proper burial. Chu Kuangren's voice was as cold as the wind. Everyone felt a chill down their spine. Black Heaven sect, do you guys want to start a war? The Murong family's head was so angry that his body was trembling as he roared. Then let's start a war. Chu Kuangren let out a thunderous roar. A terrifying sword-based Taoist rhyme erupted from his body, carrying the rage in his heart that swept in all directions like a tidal wave. The entire Murong family was shocked. Chapter 207. Then let's go to war. Chu Kuangren's thunderous roar shook the entire Murong clan. An unprecedented rage burned in his chest. Murong Xian was a Taoist of the Black Heaven sect and his junior brother, yet he was treated so unfairly in the Murong clan. If he did not seek justice, he would not deserve to be called Chu Kuangren. The Murong clan's head's expression turned extremely grim. He did not expect Chu Kuangren to be so decisive. Once the orthodoxy war began, there was no turning back. Between the two orthodoxies, it was either one of them who would perish. Chu Kuangren Murong Xian is now nothing but a cripple. Are you going to go against the Murong clan for a cripple? At that moment, Murong Hai suddenly said loudly. He revealed the fact that Murong Xian was crippled. After all, a cripple had no value to an orthodoxy. He did not believe that Chu Kuangren would ignore the bigger picture and go to war with the Murong clan for a worthless cripple. Even Murong Xian himself could not help but feel sad when he heard that. Chu Kuangren glanced at Murong Hai before his figure turned into a stream of light and appeared in front of him. He grabbed Murong Hai's neck and lifted him into the air. Who gave you the permission to call him a cripple? Murong Hai's feet kicked back and forth in the air as he said with a flushed face. His meridians are broken and his spiritual mound is shattered. If you don't believe me, you can go and see for yourself. He's now a cripple. Chu Kuangren's gaze turned cold as violent spiritual power gushed out from his palm, instantly crushing Murong Hai's internal organs. His limbs and bones were all twisted and he could not be more dead. Chu Kuangren loosened his grip, and Murong Hai's body fell to the ground like a pile of mud. Among the crowd, an elder's face turned pale as he let out a shrill scream. My son. That person was Murong Hai's father. He rushed to Murong Hai's body and saw that he was no longer breathing. Filled with grief and anger, he channeled his spiritual power in Taoist rhymes and slashed at Chu Kuangren. I want you to pay for my son's death. No. Murong Fong hastily shouted when he saw this. Chu Kuangren's combat strength was so terrifying that even he was no match for him, let alone this elder. You and your son shall go together. Chu Kuangren said coldly before he lifted his hand and blasted out a palm attack. An incomparably majestic power erupted from her fair, jade-like palm. Wherever it passed, the void rumbled. This palm smashed the elder's sword chi into smithereens and landed on his head. With a bang, the man's head exploded like a watermelon. When the Murong family members saw this, they felt their scalps go numb. It was too terrifying. It was too terrifying. At this point, Chu Kuangren did not hold back at all. None of these honorable elders could withstand a single palm attack from him. Black Heaven sect leader, you've gone too far. A suppressive force came from the void, and a mighty sage's might instantly filled the entire place. In the depths of the Murong family, a white-robed old man slowly walked out. It's the fourth patriarch. Great, it's the fourth ancestor. Patriarch Murong and the others were overjoyed. This was because the person who came was the Murong clan's sage. He was also the Murong clan's greatest reliance on the firmament star. Did I go too far? I don't think so at all. Chu Kuangren said indifferently, my Black Heaven sect's Taoist has been humiliated by you all, and you even dragged out his long-dead mother to humiliate him. I don't think it's too much even if I slaughter the Murong clan. There was an incomparably shocking Taoist rhyme circulating around his body. His frail body was like a divine sword that emanated an unparalleled sharpness. He fought against the sage's aura and was not at a disadvantage. Everyone at the scene was in disbelief. He has broken through to the honorable realm. Murong Yu's pupils shrunk as he said in shock. Even if he had broken through to the honorable realm, it was still too unbelievable to have such strength. What arrogance! The Murong clan's fourth forefather snorted. He took a step forward and slowly reached out his hand. A majestic surge of spiritual power, accompanied by a surge of sage Taoist rhyme, condensed into a giant hand that covered the sky and grabbed at Chu Kuangren. Let me capture you first, then let the Black Heaven sect's sage come and negotiate with me, the Murong clan's fourth forefather said coldly. A sage's attack was earth-shattering. However, there was no fear in Chu Kuangren's eyes. The descendant's self-sword in his hand radiated with an incomparably bright divine light. You think you're worthy of capturing me? With a sneer, Chu Kuangren raised his hand and unleashed a sword attack. A similarly peerless purple sword light slashed out. This sword light was vast and mighty, and it was filled with an emperor's aura. Even the sage's Taoist rhyme was suppressed. An emperor suppressing all abilities. The Murong clan's fourth forefather was a little shocked. He knew that Chu Kuangren possessed an emperor technique, but he did not expect that the Taoist rhyme that Chu Kuangren unleashed could suppress him. How could an existence below the level of a sage possess such terrifying combat strength? Boom. Accompanied by a horrifying explosion, the sword ray and the sage's giant hand collided, and a violent shockwave swept in all directions. Chu Kuangren was pushed back dozens of feet from the impact. On the other hand, a bloody scar appeared on the sage's palm. Chu Kuangren had injured a sage with a single sword attack. The people of the Murong clan gasped when they saw this. How? How did he do that? This is impossible. He can injure a sage. Everyone was in shock. To their knowledge, a sage and a person below the level of a sage were two completely different concepts. They could not be compared at all. However, Chu Kuangren had single-handedly shattered their knowledge. A person below the level of a sage could injure a sage. Chu Kuangren came to Lan Yu's side and said, "Bring Murong Xian up to the elusive mirage." "All right." Lan Yu nodded. She kept the corpse on the ground into her yin and yang ring before she carried Murong Xian and flew towards the elusive mirage. Not far away, the Murong clan's head and the others' expressions darkened when they saw that. Capture them. Don't let them leave. One by one, the elders dashed out to stop Lan Yu and Murong Xian. However, Chu Kuangren unleashed his sword chi transformation technique. One by one, sword chi clones dashed out and blocked off the pursuers. Although these sword chi clones only had less than 1/10 of Chu Kuangren's strength, their combat strength was still more terrifying than most honorables. The Murong clan's head and the others could not defeat them at all. They could only watch as Lan Yu brought Murong Xian back to the elusive mirage. Following that, the Taoist patterns on the elusive mirage circulated and a golden defensive chi barrier appeared. It was obvious that it was not going to be easy to break through. ***, this Chu Kuangren knows how to create clones. How does he have so many tricks up his sleeves? ***, the Murong clan's head and the others were furious. Meanwhile, the Murong clan's fourth forefather looked at the bloody wound on his palm and then at Chu Kuangren with a murderous look in his eyes. This kid is too much of a monster. He has already fallen out with the Murong clan. If I don't kill him now, he will become a huge threat in the future. At that thought, he had already made up his mind. The sage Taoist rhyme on his body circulated, and his spiritual power continuously slammed into the void like a tidal wave. The heavens and earth rumbled. A sage's rage was earth-shattering. Chu Kuangren sensed his opponent's murderous intent, and his eyes were equally cold. I'd like to see if a sage can kill me. Chapter 208. When a sage's killing intent was triggered, the weather changed. The vast and boundless sage aura surged towards Chu Kuangren like a tsunami, continuously impacting his body. If it were a few days ago, Chu Kuangren would not stand a chance against a sage, but things were different now. He had broken through to the honorable realm and even formed a supreme honorable foundation level. He was much stronger than when he was still in the battle monarch realm. The 6 supreme foundation levels in his body radiated with divine light, and Taoist rhymes circulated around his body. His entire body was like a peerless divine sword, showing off its sharpness. Chu Kuangren, let's fight. The Murong clan's 4th forefather suddenly attacked. He raised his palm and turned it into a giant palm that pressed down. The sage Taoist rhymes erupted, and an extremely pure sage realm spiritual power poured out like a flood. Chu Kuangren did not retreat. He raised his hand to gather earth chi and unleashed a palm attack of his own. A majestic ancient godly mountain appeared in the void. Boom boom. A torrent of energy erupted in the void, and surges of spiritual power poured out like a hurricane. The surrounding buildings were destroyed, the ground cracked, smoke billowed, and gravel flew like cannonballs. The people of the Murong clan were shocked when they saw that. Quick, retreat now. We can't resist this kind of power. Run. *MN, it's too scary. Everyone was terrified as they frantically ran into the distance. However, many of them were still affected by the shockwaves and their bodies exploded. Look, it's the clan mausoleum. Suddenly someone exclaimed. Under the battle between Chu Kuangren and the Murong clan's 4th forefather, the clan mausoleum that had already collapsed was swept away again. Many corpses flew out from the coffins and were crushed by the shockwaves, turning into ashes. This made the Murong clan's head and the others furious. Some elders were so enraged that they vomited blood on the spot. Those were the ancestors of the Murong clan. ****, that goddamn Chu Kuangren. What a tragedy for our clan. Some of the elders of the Murong clan knelt on the ground and cried. The Murong clan's 4th forefather was even more furious. He stared at Chu Kuangren and said angrily, I'll skin you alive to comfort my ancestors. Chu Kuangren sneered when he heard that. Are you kidding me? Don't make it sound like you had nothing to do with it. Didn't you attack too? If you really want to comfort your Murong family's ancestors, I think you should commit suicide right now and use your death as an apology. You evil creature. Die for me. The Murong clan's 4th forefather made his move again. This time a sword appeared in his hand. With a slash of the sword, the piercingly cold sword chi was like a tornado. Chu Kuangren also unleashed his heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique. As the two forces collided, the sword chi swept out in all directions. Chu Kuangren and the Murong clan's 4th forefather were also impacted by the sword chi and were forced to retreat. He actually has the strength to fight a saint. The Murong clan's 4th ancestor was shocked. At that moment, a terrifying Taoist rhyme erupted from the depths of the Murong family, and a mighty sword light shot out. However, that sword ray was not aimed at Chu Kuangren. Their target was the illusionary mirage high up in the sky. Boom. When the sword struck the elusive mirage, a loud sound rang out. Ripples appeared on the elusive mirage's golden light barrier. Although the commotion was huge, the elusive mirage's golden light barrier remained unscathed. Humph, are you trying to threaten me by capturing the people around me? Is this the demeanor of the Murong clan's sage? Come out now. Chu Kuangren yelled and the soul retriever shot out from his body. The soul retriever flew straight into the depths of the Murong clan's territory. Not long after, a white-robed figure who had evaded the soul retriever flew out. That person was holding a long sword, and there were surges of sage Taoist rhyme emanating from his body. Obviously, that person was also a sage. It's the 2nd forefather. There are 2 sages in the Murong clan, the 4th and 2nd forefathers. They've always been elusive, but they've all come out today. Moreover, they're all here to deal with Chu Kuangren. This Chu Kuangren is too terrifying. Seeing that the Murong clan's 2nd forefather had also appeared, the crowd could not help but be shocked. What kind of bloody weapon is that? The Murong clan's 2nd forefather looked at the soul retriever that was chasing after him with an ugly expression. The gloomy fluctuations that emanated from the soul retriever made him shudder. He could only channel his spiritual power to resist the soul retriever's approach. Upon seeing that, Chu Kuangren retracted the soul retriever. The soul retriever was indeed powerful, but if he could not attack his opponent, he would not be able to use its soul retriever's power. With Chu Kuangren's current cultivation level, it would still be difficult for him to use the soul retriever against a sage. Both Murong clan's sages have shown up. Very well, very well. Chu Kuangren sneered, still showing no signs of backing down. This person has too many tricks up his sleeves. I initially wanted to capture Murong Xian and that lady to negotiate with him, but I didn't expect the ferry boat's defensive formation to be so powerful that it could withstand a sage's attack. The Murong clan's second forefather said with a complicated look in his eyes. Soul Retriever, Elusive Mirage, these were things that he had never heard of before. Chu Kuangren had too many secrets on him. Let's work together to capture this person first. No, kill him. The Murong clan's fourth forefather said coldly. Kill him. Then the Black Heaven sect. Second forefather, now that things have come to this, do you think the Black Heaven sect and the Murong clan still have any room for negotiation? In my opinion, this person is the biggest variable. If we keep him alive, he'll definitely destroy the Murong clan in the future. There was still a hint of hesitation in the Murong clan's second forefather's eyes. Second forefather, if we don't act decisively, we'll be in trouble. Alright then, we'll do as you say. The Murong clan's second forefather nodded with a murderous intent in his eyes. Facing the murderous intent of two sages, Chu Kuangren felt an unprecedented pressure. Come at me then. He took out the sacred emerald sword case and 24 treasured swords flew out at the same time, forming a terrifying sword formation that charged towards the two sages. The four-season sword formation's third form, the 24 solar terms. With Chu Kuangren's current cultivation level, this formation was much more powerful than before. It was much more powerful now. Within the sword formation, the sky was filled with sword chi. The four seasons rotated, the sun and the moon alternated, and waves of mysterious Taoist rhymes circulated, shaking the heavens and earth. What a powerful sword formation. I can't believe he still has such a technique up his sleeve. The Murong clan's two sages were shocked. How many more techniques did this person have up his sleeves? Not enough, this is still not enough. Chu Kuangren murmured. The 6 supreme foundation levels within his body radiated with rays of divine light, and the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart's 3 great transformations were activated. The Sword of the Heavens, 9 Heaven Sword Prison, Green Lotus Sword Song. Somewhere in the Murong clan, waves of sword chants resonated with the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart, and one by one, the swords shot into the sky like a torrent. That's the Hidden Sword Pavilion. Why are the Hidden Sword Pavilion swords flying out on their own? It's his Taoist physique that's attracting these swords. D*eminent, so this is the supreme Taoist physique, the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart. It's too mysterious and it's a nightmare for all sword cultivators. Every cultivator of the Murong clan was shocked. As a swordsmanship family, the Murong clan naturally had many treasured swords. Countless swords circled around Chu Kuangren. He picked out the best 341 swords and added them into the sword formation. Instantly, the 4-season sword formation was upgraded. The 24 solar term sword formation had transformed into the 365-day sword formation. The 4-season sword formation's highest form. Unparalleled sword chi brewed within the sword formation, and even the Murong clan's 2 sages felt waves of pressure. Using the Murong clan swords to deal with the Murong clan sages is rather appropriate. Chu Kuangren sneered. Those words made all the cultivators at the scene curse him for being shameless. The second sage was so angry that his body started to tremble. Chapter 209. The highest form of the 4-season sword formation was made up of 365 swords. The sword formation emitted a towering sword chi that surrounded the 2 Murong clan sages like a giant sphere. The sword chi continued to attack them. The waves of sword chi were so powerful that even the 2 sages found it difficult to deal with them. This sword formation was just too powerful. What kind of sword formation is this? Why haven't I heard of it before? The Murong clan's 4th forefather destroyed a ball of sword chi with a single slash. He tried to rush out of the sword formation several times but was forced back. Chu Kuangren activated the 3 great transformations of the exquisite 9 orifices sword heart. All the swords were under his control as if they were part of his body. Countless swords circled around and formed an orderly sword formation. The Taoist rhymes of the 4 seasons circulated. It was extremely mysterious. The sword chi was either as fierce as thunder, as fierce as fire, or as swift as the wind. The 4 seasons rotated, and all natural phenomena were within the formation. This was a legendary grade sword formation. If Chu Kuangren had enough cultivation, he could easily kill the 2 Murong clan sages by activating this sword formation. Even if he was only an honorable now, with this sword formation he could easily take on 2 sages. This formation is difficult to break. You and I are both inside it. To break it, we must start from Chu Kuangren, the Murong clan's second forefather said. He looked at the Murong clan's head and the others. The Murong clan's head and the others understood and said loudly, "Dear elders, the Murong clan has suffered a great calamity today. It's time for us to sacrifice ourselves for the clan. Everyone, please follow me to kill that Black Heaven bastard. Chu Kuangren has destroyed our Murong clan's tomb and destroyed our ancestral tablets. This is an irreconcilable grudge. We must kill him. Elders above the honorable realm, follow me. Even if it's just to distract him, it'll be good enough for the two sages to break the formation. Kill." One by one, the Murong clan's elders rushed towards Chu Kuangren. The surging murderous intent and surging sword chi were extremely powerful. "Kill me? What a joke. Even if you don't kill me, I won't let you go," Chu Kuangren said coldly. His silhouette flickered and 4 sword chi clones appeared. With his current strength, each of the 4 sword chi clones had the strength of an honorable supreme. They were extremely terrifying. The 4 clones picked up the treasured swords on the ground and stood around Chu Kuangren to protect him. Any cultivator who got too close to them was blasted away by the sword chi. A fierce battle ensued. Bang! With a single slash, Murong Yu was sent flying. He fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at Chu Kuangren, who was in the air with a horrified expression. "I can't even take a single strike from his clone. Why is he so strong?" Murong Yu couldn't believe it. Both of them were from the same generation, so why was Chu Kuangren so much stronger than him? Even a clone was enough to make him feel despair. "This won't do. This doppelganger is simply too strong. If it's like this, we won't be able to hurt this person at all." The Murong family's head said unwillingly. Where did this guy get this technique from? Cloning techniques were rare to begin with. Chu Kuangren's ability to summon so many clones was even more unheard of. It was definitely not as simple as a sage technique. Could it be that this is the Sword Gauntlet's opportunity of fortune? One of the elders said in shock. He had heard about Chu Kuangren ascending to the top of the Sword Gauntlet, so he naturally associated this unheard of sword chi clones with the Sword Gauntlet's opportunity of fortune. No matter what, let's think of a way to deal with him first. Go get the Lin family's head and let them deal with this person together. The Lin family was an honorable orthodoxy that was second only to the Murong family in the city. It was also the maiden family of the Murong family's head. The Murong family and the Lin family were closely related. Now that the Murong family was in trouble, there was no reason for the Lin family to do nothing. One of the elders went to get the Lin family's help. Not long after, a large group of people rushed over from afar. They were the Lin family. When they saw the 2 Murong sages trapped in the sword formation, they could not help but be dumbfounded. When they looked at Chu Kuangren again, they felt dizzy. *CK. What's going on? 2 sages are trapped by an honorable? This world must be crazy. The Lin family's head could not help but gulp as he looked at the Murong family's mess. What kind of enemy did the Murong family provoke? Before he could figure it out, the Murong family's head shouted, "Lin family's head, you're finally here. Let's deal with this thief together." "Brother Murong, who is this person?" We'll talk about this later. Our 2 families are closely related, so now that the Murong family is in trouble, you can't just ignore it. The Lin family's head pondered for a while. Alright, I understand. On the surface, the Lin family and the Murong family were allies, but in reality, the Lin family had always been the Murong family's vassal. If they just stood by and watched, the Murong family would not let them go. Chu Kuangren calmly controlled the sword formation even when he was surrounded by the Murong family and Lin family. "Do you think you can beat me in numbers?" Surges of sword chi shot out from Chu Kuangren's body. Each sword chi was a sword chi clone that filled the sky. Although the more sword chi clones there were, the weaker its power would be. Not everyone from the Murong family and Lin family was an honorable. Looking at the sky full of sword chi clones, the Lin family's head was dumbfounded. What kind of technique is this? Murong family, you've tricked me? Countless sword chi clones rushed towards them. One person was like an entire army, and the Murong family's people felt pressured. They had never experienced a battle like this before. What a terrifying clone technique! Murong clan's 4th ancestor exclaimed. Then he sneered and said, "But you're activating the sword formation and you're also using the cloning technique. How much spiritual energy do you have left and how long can you last? It seems like you guys don't know enough about me." "What do you mean? If you knew about the battle at the Weeping Demon Mountain, you wouldn't have said such naive things," Chu Kuangren said. He then raised his hand to activate the gluttonous devouring technique, and a terrifying suction force erupted from his body. The cultivator's corpses around him turned into countless blood and flesh essences that he absorbed to replenish his spiritual power. The Murong family's two sages widened their eyes in shock. They were dumbfounded. There's such a technique? F***ck me? What's the point of fighting now? Sword Chi clones, gluttonous devouring technique. This Chu Kuangren is not afraid of group battles at all. He alone is an entire army, and it's the kind of invincible army that will not consume any energy. This won't do. If this goes on, the Murong family will be massacred by him before we can even get out of this formation. The Murong family's second forefather said anxiously. Chu Kuangren, I want to negotiate. You want to negotiate? No way. Chu Kuangren said coldly. Chu Kuangren, as far as I know, Murong Xian is already a cripple. As a sect leader, are you really going to disregard the bigger picture and go against us for the sake of a cripple? When I took over as sect leader, I swore that no one can bully the Black Heaven sect while I'm still here. You've humiliated the Black Heaven sect's Taoist and destroyed his cultivation. There's no room for negotiation, and the Murong family must pay the price. You've destroyed the Murong family's mausoleum and killed so many of our people. Is that not enough? No, it's still not enough. The Murong family's second forefather was so angry that he was speechless. He was so angry that his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He could not figure out how there could be someone like Chu Kuangren in this world who did whatever he wanted and did things so unscrupulously. Chapter 210. Chu Kuangren, you really won't rest until you die. The Murong clan's fourth forefather shouted coldly. I won't rest until I die. What can you do about it? Chu Kuangren replied coldly. Do you really think that we can't break your sword formation? Why don't you give it a try? The Murong clan's fourth forefather's expression changed. Then he gritted his teeth and an incredibly powerful aura erupted from his body. Sage Taoist rhymes constantly manifested around him and formed into a giant purplish-blue sword shadow. Surges of sharp intent emanated from it as if it wanted to tear the void apart. Break. The Murong clan's fourth forefather held onto the giant sword shadow and flew out. The sword struck the sword formation, and the purplish-blue sword shadow collided with the sword formation's sword chi, causing terrifying sonic booms to erupt. The Murong clan's fourth forefather used the sword chi to break through the sword formation, but the surrounding sword chi also landed on his body. Although he had the body of a sage, he was still cut by the sword chi and was soon riddled with wounds. He disregarded everything and vowed to break the sword formation. Boom. In the end, the Murong clan's fourth forefather, who had exhausted all his strength and suffered serious injuries, finally managed to tear a hole in the sword formation. Chu Kuangren. Die. The Murong clan's fourth forefather was unstoppable. The purplish-blue sword shadow had already dissipated, but his figure still rushed towards Chu Kuangren like a meteor. The long sword in his hand was filled with endless power. Sage Taoist rhymes circulated around him and locked onto Chu Kuangren. Human Mountain Stamp. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and unleashed a palm attack, but the majestic godly mountain was forcefully penetrated by the Murong clan's fourth forefather's unstoppable sword attack. The meteor-like sword ray pierced Chu Kuangren's body and directly penetrated his chest. A large amount of sword chi was frantically destroying his body. The Murong clan's fourth forefather revealed a proud smile. We did it. The other cultivators of the Murong clan were also ecstatic. They had finally killed that madman. Yes, we did it. At that moment, Chu Kuangren also had a smile on his face. Before the Murong clan's fourth forefather could react, a black chain with a hook flew out from Chu Kuangren's body. Oh no. At that moment, the Murong clan's fourth ancestor wanted to dodge. However, his hand was held tightly by Chu Kuangren. He could only watch helplessly as the soul retriever penetrated his body. A gust of gloomy chi filled his entire body, and even his sage body stiffened. Then he felt his consciousness being stripped away. His soul was pulled out of his body by the Soul Reaper chain. How is this possible? All the cultivators of the Murong family were shocked. The second patriarch was about to hit him. The violent sword chi in Taoist rhyme should have shattered his limbs, bones, internal organs, and even his heart in an instant. Why isn't he dead yet? It really hurts. Chu Kuangren grinned as he spoke. He grabbed the sword that was stuck in his chest and pulled it out forcefully, causing a stream of blood to spurt out. Then, the bloody hole in his chest and the sword marks on his body recovered at an extremely fast speed. Immortal body. What kind of monster are you? The Murong clan's fourth forefather, who was trapped by the soul retriever, felt his soul tremble when he saw that. It was not that there were no techniques that could heal injuries, and the Murong clan's third forefather had seen many of them over the years. However, when Chu Kuangren was hit, his internal organs including his heart should have been crushed by the sword qi. The Murong clan's third forefather had never heard of such a cultivation technique that allowed him to recover so quickly in such a situation. If it weren't for the immortal body leveling up to the third stage when I broke through to the honorable realm, I'm afraid this battle would have been a little dangerous. Chu Kuangren murmured. The third stage of the immortal body. Undying after being crushed. The immortal body of this realm was extremely terrifying. There were no vital points on the body, so whether one's arm, head, or even body was chopped off, he could quickly recover. Crushing his internal organs? Shattering his heart? Those were all child's play. Could not kill him at all. Unless one used absolute strength to destroy him, such as completely crushing his body into dust, he could still come back to life. Unfortunately, the Murong clan's fourth forefather did not have such an ability. Chu Kuangren looked at the Murong clan's fourth forefather, raised his hand, and sucked his body into the avarice dimension. With the flesh and blood essence of a sage's body, his spiritual power was rapidly recovering, and it even showed signs of improving. One of the Murong clan's two sages has died first. Chu Kuangren sneered. He channeled his spiritual power into the soul retriever, and with a violent pull, a dark energy that targeted the soul exploded from the soul retriever. The Murong clan's fourth forefather's soul could not withstand it, and he let out a heart-wrenching scream. Then, his soul body shattered inch by inch and his soul dissipated. On this day Chu Kuangren killed a sage. The sky rumbled and a muffled thunder exploded. With the firmament star's great Dharma emergence, even the death of a sage would only cause such a phenomenon. There was not even a drop of rain. However, that did not stop the crowd from being shocked. No matter what, that was still a sage. A peerless existence that stood above the billions of living beings. The Murong clans and Lin clans cultivators became extremely terrified. A sage. A sage is dead. He killed a sage, oh my god. Chu Kuangren killed a sage. The cultivators at the scene looked at Chu Kuangren, and they had already lost the will to fight him. They were no match for him at all. Even the Murong clan's second forefather was horrified. A sage was dead. Chu Kuangren could kill a sage. For a long time, the Murong clan's second forefather, who had always regarded everyone as ants, felt the threat of death. At that moment, he was afraid of this young man who was not even 20 years old. Especially when Chu Kuangren's gaze landed on him, he could not help but feel his scalp go numb, and a hint of fear appeared in his eyes. Brother Chu, let's talk. As far as I know, we're not the ones who crippled Murong Xian. It was the Blackstone plumes that did it. We have nothing to do with it. The Murong clan's second forefather said loudly, ready to admit defeat. Oh, the Blackstone plumes. Chu Kuangren grabbed a Murong clan's disciple and asked, what's the Blackstone plumes? The Blackstone plumes is an assassin organization in the Black Warrior domain. That disciple did not resist at all in front of Chu Kuangren. He trembled as he told Chu Kuangren everything he knew about the Blackstone plumes. Chu Kuangren laughed. An assassin organization. An assassin organization that only works for profit. You're telling me that they would touch Murong Xian for no reason? Do you think I'm stupid? Who's the mastermind behind this? Brother Chu, should I hand over the mastermind and let this matter rest? The Murong clan's second forefather gritted his teeth and said, do you think you have the right to negotiate with me now? If you don't tell me, I'll kill them one by one. I don't believe that no one will tell me. It's the Lin clan. The Murong clan's second forefather said. The entire Murong clan was under his control. He also knew about the incident with Murong Xian, but he did not pay attention to it. He did not expect that it would lead to such a huge disaster. At that moment he hated the Lin clan to the core. In the crowd, the face of the noblewoman beside the Murong clan's head turned extremely pale. Sage, how can you do this? Buzz, a sword ray flashed past. The Lin clan was sliced in half on the spot. Other than her, who else could it be? No one else. What about Murong Yu? Did he really not know that his mother hired someone to kill him? Or could it be that the one who did it wasn't the Lin clan, but her precious son instead? Chu Kuangren sneered. Before he killed the Lin clan he had already figured out her identity. Naturally, he knew about the relationship between Murong Yu and the Lin clan. Chapter 211. This matter has nothing to do with me. Before the Murong clan's second forefather could say anything, Murong Yu had already taken the initiative to speak up. He was already scared out of his wits when he saw Chu Kuangren killing a sage. When he heard that he was implicated in Murong Xian's death, he immediately denied it. As for avenging his mother, he did not care at all. My mother did this all on her own. It has nothing to do with me, Murong Yu said loudly. Chu Kuangren glanced at him and sneered. What a filial son you are. A few of his sword chi clones appeared in front of Murong Yu. Terrifying sword chi erupted and intertwined into a net of sword chi. Whether or not Murong Yu was the one who killed Murong Xian, Chu Kuangren did not mind killing him since he was a descendant of the Lin clan. No. Murong Yu was terrified and quickly used his sword to block the attack. The Murong clan's head and the others wanted to help, but they were helpless against a few sword chi clones. Not long after, Murong Yu was completely killed by the sword chi. A surge of primordial emperor's essence flew out and was caught by Chu Kuangren. Without even looking at it, he threw it into his yin and yang ring. My son. The Murong clan's head's eyes were bloodshot. Murong Yu was a young emperor whom he had high hopes for, but now he was killed by Chu Kuangren right in front of him. He was furious, but at the same time he felt a great sense of helplessness. In front of Chu Kuangren, this sage orthodoxy leader was nothing. Chu Kuangren's strength was much stronger than his. Chu Kuangren, that's enough. You've destroyed my clan's mausoleum, killed a sage, killed a young emperor, and killed so many of my people. What more do you want? The Murong clan's second forefather roared. He was filled with grief and anger. Chu Kuangren had gone to such lengths just for Murong Xian, a crippled Murong Xian. Was there any justice in this world? Chu Kuangren was a lunatic. I still want to do one last thing. Kill another sage. Chu Kuangren said coldly. Since things had come to this, he would not give the Murong clan any chance to make a comeback. He did not mind going even further. The two saints of the Murong family could not be left alive. Sensing the cold murderous intent in Chu Kuangren's eyes, the Murong clan's second forefather shuddered and looked at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. The other party actually wanted to kill two saints today. Amidst the sea of clouds, a streak of light streaked across the sky. It was a white-haired old man. The old man's face was filled with anxiety. This little fellow is really too impulsive. He actually dares to go to the Murong family alone. No matter what, that's still a sage orthodoxy. With two sages holding down the fort, what should we do if anything were to happen to them? This old man was none other than the Dark Heaven second forefather. He was the most senior person in the Black Heaven sect. When he heard that Chu Kuangren had gone to the Murong clan alone to find trouble with them, he became anxious. To him, Chu Kuangren was the future and hope of the Black Heaven sect. He was the one who would lead the Black Heaven sect to glory and resurgence. If something were to happen to him in the Murong family, Black Heaven's second forefather did not dare to think any further. A cold light shot out from his eyes. Murong's second saint, if you dare to touch that little fellow, I'll kill you even if I have to risk my life. Black Heaven's second forefather quickly made his way to the Murong clan. He was a sage and his speed was his forte. It did not take long for him to arrive at the city where the Murong clan was and saw the gigantic elusive mirage. What kind of ferry boat is that? It's too terrifying. Hold on. There are people on the ferry boat. It's Murong Xian and Lan Yu. Don't tell me that the little fellow drove this thing to the Murong clan? Black Heaven's second forefather was a little surprised. No wonder he did not see Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu along the way. It seemed that the ferry boat's speed was extraordinary. Then he looked in the direction of the Murong clan. With a single glance, he was immediately dumbfounded. What's going on? What did he just see? The entire Murong clan was in ruins and even the clan mausoleum was destroyed. Coffins were scattered all over the ground. It was too terrifying. Could this be the doing of the little fellow? Heavens, the Murong clan's second sage would never forgive him. Black Heaven's second forefather continued to search the Murong clan with his spiritual thought and soon found Chu Kuangren. However, the scene in front of him made his spiritual thought tremble violently. His pupils shrunk as he wondered if his eyes were playing tricks on him. The scene where Chu Kuangren was at a disadvantage or even imprisoned did not happen. On the contrary, Chu Kuangren was suppressing the sage. What a mysterious sword formation and this cloning technique. I've never heard of it before. This little guy really has a lot of trump cards up his sleeves. But where's the Murong clan's fourth forefather? Black Heaven's second forefather was puzzled. His spiritual thoughts scanned the entire Murong clan, but he could not find any trace of the Murong clan's fourth forefather. He could not care less anymore. He dashed towards Chu Kuangren's direction, and a majestic surge of sword chi erupted from his body. Who dares to bully the Black Heaven sect leader? His thunderous roar shook the entire Murong clan. Black Heaven's second forefather had appeared. The Murong clan's second forefather and the others were so furious that they almost vomited blood. Bully the Black Heaven sect leader? Are you kidding me? Open your eyes and see who's the bully here? The Murong clan's vitality was greatly damaged. The clan mausoleum was destroyed, their sage was killed, their young emperor was killed, and countless elders and disciples were either injured or killed. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren's immortal body was unscathed. How did they end up being the ones bullying him? How shameless could they be? Forefather, you're here. Chu Kuangren had never met the Black Heaven's second forefather before, but he knew that he was the Black Heaven sect's sage. Forefather, I've killed the Murong clan's fourth forefather. Now, only the Murong clan's second forefather is left. Let's join forces and kill him. Chu Kuangren said coldly. Black Heaven's second forefather's pupils shrunk as he felt his scalp tingle. *CK. No wonder he could not find the Murong clan's fourth forefather. He was killed by Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren could actually kill a sage. All right. Black Heaven's second forefather's eyes lit up when he recovered from his shock. The relationship between the one mountain, one sect, and two families was not harmonious. Now that there was a chance to completely destroy the Murong clan, Black Heaven's second forefather would not let it go. He joined forces with Chu Kuangren to attack the Murong clan's second forefather. The Murong clan's second forefather was already scared out of his wits by Chu Kuangren. Now that Black Heaven's second forefather had joined forces, they had no chance of winning at all. In less than half an hour he was killed. His sage spirit wanted to escape, but it was bound by the soul retriever. Chu Kuangren only needed to use his mind to destroy his opponent's soul. As for the remaining sage's body, Chu Kuangren did not let it go either. He sucked it into the avarice dimension and refined it. It's over. The Murong clan is finished. The Murong clan's head slumped onto the ground, his face filled with despair. With the death of the second sage, the Murong clan had fallen from grace. After this battle, the Murong clan, which was originally famous, would not be able to recover from this setback and would be removed from the list of sage orthodoxies. Young man, what do you plan to do with the rest of them? Black Heaven's second forefather asked. Sect leader, forefather, it's enough. At that moment, Murong Xian's voice came from the upper floor. He glanced at the ruined Murong clan. They've paid the price. It was not that he was soft-hearted. It was just that there was karma in this world. Aside from those who bullied him, there were also many innocent people in the Murong clan. Murong Xian did not want to see Chu Kuangren kill too many people for his sake. He did not want to be tainted by karma which would affect his future luck. Chapter 212. Upon hearing Murong Xian's words, the murderous intent in Chu Kuangren's eyes gradually receded, but the lingering murderous intent on his body was still terrifying. With a lift of his arm, he kept all the treasured swords into his sword case. The Murong clan swords are not bad, so I'll take them for myself, Chu Kuangren said. He took all 341 treasured swords from the Murong clan in one go. The Murong clan's head spat out a mouthful of blood. Those treasured swords were the Murong clan's most valuable and best quality swords. There were even a few sacred swords on it. Chu Kuangren took them away just like that. But there was nothing he could do. Chu Kuangren had killed 2 sages in a row. Who would dare to say no? After that, Chu Kuangren and Black Heaven's second forefather returned to the elusive mirage, but they did not leave. Instead, it floated in the air above the Murong family like a giant ancient beast that could eat people at any time, causing everyone to tremble in fear. Why isn't he leaving yet? Has he not killed enough? The members of the Murong clan looked at each other in dismay. Their faces were filled with fear. However, to their relief, although the elusive mirage was floating above them, it did not make any big movements. Above the elusive mirage, Chu Kuangren was checking on Murong Xian's injuries. His external injuries and meridians were still manageable since a spring breeze healing technique could heal them quickly. However, the damage to his spiritual mound was troublesome. Sect leader, I'm already a cripple. Why do you still need to worry about me? Murong Xian smiled bitterly. Even an alchemy master would be helpless against a spiritual mound injury. In his opinion, he would never be able to cultivate again in this life. If your heart is crippled, then you're truly crippled. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. What's the use of having the heart but not the strength? Are you so sure that I can't cure you? Murong Xian's eyes flashed with hope when he heard that. Sect leader, can you really cure me? No one wanted to be a cripple, especially a proud Taoist like Murong Xian who found it hard to accept. Besides, he would be worthless to the Black Heaven sect if he continued to be a cripple. He would not be able to shine for the Black Heaven sect, and he would not be able to repay the sect leader who had helped him so much. Nonsense, is there anything that I, your sect leader, can't do? I can even kill a saint, let alone a small injury of the spiritual ruin. Chu Kuangren laughed. Really? Why would I lie to you? Chu Kuangren rolled his eyes and said, all right, you can go and rest now. Yes, sect master. Murong Xian left the room filled with hope. After he left, Chu Kuangren's expression instantly turned grim. *MN the Murong clan and Black Stain Plumes. Black Heaven's second forefather appeared in the void. He sighed. You really can't do anything about it. The spiritual mound was the source of a cultivator's strength. Once the spiritual mound was damaged, the cultivator would basically be considered as crippled. It was too difficult to treat such an injury. Even an alchemist grandmaster would be helpless. If there's no other way, why not just tell him directly? Giving him hope like this will only make him feel more hopeless in the future, Black Heaven's second forefather said in confusion. He did not believe that Chu Kuangren did not understand this principle. Who said I can't do anything about it? Did I guess wrong? Can you really heal spiritual mound injuries? Black Heaven's second forefather asked in surprise. I can't now, but that doesn't mean I can't in the future. I'll research it even if I have to, Chu Kuangren said with a determined gaze. That's too difficult. Black Heaven's second forefather was a little shocked. He did not expect Chu Kuangren to have such an idea. Research a way to heal spiritual mound injuries himself? Black Heaven's second forefather dared not imagine how difficult it would be. How would I know if I don't try? Chu Kuangren was now an alchemy grandmaster, so he had countless pill recipes in his mind. Among them there were indeed a few that could heal Murong Xian's spiritual mound, but none of them could. Even so, he did not give up. Since there was none, he would use these countless pill recipes as a template and research it himself. Methods were always thought of by humans. All right then. Black Heaven's second forefather was not proficient in alchemy, so he could only hope that Chu Kuangren could succeed and create an unprecedented feat. Lan Yu, go to the Murong clan later and ask them to do something for me. A cold glare shot out from Chu Kuangren's eyes. Please tell me, master. News of Chu Kuangren wreaking havoc in the Murong clan and killing 2 sages swept through the city like a hurricane, and it continued to spread to the whole firmament star. All the forces and orthodoxies who received the news were shocked. In the city, everyone on the streets was talking about the great battle that had just ended not long ago. They looked at the elusive mirage in the sky with fear in their eyes. This Chu Kuangren is too terrifying. A cultivator could not help but exclaim. Yeah, he killed 2 sages just like that. An entire sage orthodoxy was destroyed by him just like that. Killing a sage who is below the level of a sage? How can there be such a terrifying existence in this world? This is simply illogical. I heard that Chu Kuangren went to the Murong clan to seek justice for a disciple. Diske, this sect leader is too awesome. Yeah, I'm starting to feel like joining the Black Heaven sect. I have to have you as well. Look, someone's coming down. Someone in the crowd suddenly exclaimed. Everyone looked over and saw a figure flying down from the elusive mirage. It's a woman. It's young Emperor Lan Yu. She's going to the Murong clan? No way. Haven't they had enough yet? Everyone looked at each other and felt sorry for the Murong clan. It was too difficult for them to meet such a tough opponent. The Murong clan. Many of the Murong clan's disciples were cleaning up the battlefield. That battle was too tragic. Moreover, it was a one-sided battle against the Murong clan. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren was unscathed. Every time they thought of that, everyone in the Murong clan would feel terrified and secretly refer to Chu Kuangren as a monster. Someone's coming down from the ferry boat. At that moment, one of the Murong clan's disciples screamed in fear. The rest of them were on guard as well. A beautiful figure dressed in gorgeous silver-white armor appeared in front of them. It was Lan Yu. Everyone looked at her, their gazes filled with wariness. Although they did not see Chu Kuangren, they were also afraid of the people around him. Even if this person was extremely beautiful, it would still be the same. After all, wasn't Chu Kuangren also a peerless man? However, when he killed someone, it was a clean kill. The Murong clan's disciples were terrified. What are you doing here? A figure walked out from the Murong clan. It was Murong Feng. I'm here to pass on a message for my master. Chu Kuangren has already pushed the Murong clan to this point. What else does he want? Murong Feng gritted his teeth. At the same time he blamed himself. If he did not bring Murong Shen back to the Murong clan and hurt him so much, the Murong clan would not be in this state today. You guys brought this upon yourselves. Don't blame my master. Lan Yu said indifferently. What else does Chu Kuangren want us to do? My master wants information on the black stain plumes. Go and get it. The more detailed, the better. I'll come and get it tomorrow morning. Murong Feng's eyes narrowed. Chu Kuangren still wants to deal with the black stain plumes? No one can bully the Black Heaven sect. Whether it's the Murong clan or the black stain plumes, they must pay the price. Chapter 213. Lan Yu relayed Chu Kuangren's orders to the Murong clan. Murong Feng pondered for a moment before he said, all right. They had no right to reject Chu Kuangren's request, so they quickly sent people to gather information about the black stain plumes. The next day, in the elusive mirage that was floating high up in the sky, Chu Kuangren, who had been studying the pill recipe for the entire night, slowly opened his eyes. He felt a slight pain in his temples. Researching pill recipes really isn't something humans should do. If this goes on, I'm going to go bald, he said as he rubbed the space between his brows. However, Murong Shen was his junior brother, so he could not just ignore him. Forget it, let's draw a prize and relax. Chu Kuangren said as he opened the roulette. Without even looking at it, he let it spin on its own. Congratulations to the host for drawing the legendary item, Heaven Evolution Pill Tome. Heaven Evolution Pill Cannon? Pill? Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up as he quickly retrieved the Vitality Pill Tome. A Rubik's Cube appeared in front of him. Yes, it was a Rubik's Cube. It was a simple and unadorned Rubik's Cube with runes winding around it. Isn't it supposed to be a pill ceremony? Why is there a Rubik's Cube? Chu Kuangren muttered. As soon as his voice fell, the Rubik's Cube began to spin. Then a beam of light shot out from the Rubik's Cube, turning into a palm-sized child. The child looked to be only 5 or 6 years old. He wore a doo-doo and had braided hair. He had red lips and white teeth, and his little face was chubby. Hello, master. The Heaven Evolution Pill Cannon is at your service. The kid said to Chu Kuangren as he hovered in midair. You are an artifact spirit? I'm the artifact spirit of the Heaven Evolution Pill Cannon that has been passed down since ancient times. Master, you can call me Little Tian. A smug look appeared on Lil Tian's face. Chu Kuangren was rather surprised. He didn't expect that this Heaven Evolution Pill Cannon would actually have an artifact spirit. This artifact spirit was too rare. Even an emperor weapon might not have one. The only weapon he had seen that possessed complete intelligence was the Kunwu sword that had fused with a sword soul. Now there was the Heaven Evolution Pill Cannon. Little Tian, I want to repair my spiritual ruins. Can you help me? Master's spiritual ruin is damaged? No, a friend of mine. Alright, no problem. I'll help Master look for it. Little Tian drilled into the Rubik's Cube, and the entire Rubik's Cube spun rapidly. Not long after, Little Tian drilled out again. Master, I found it. Little Tian waved his hand, and countless characters appeared in the void. It was a pill recipe for a pill called the Spiritual Supplement Pill. This pill could be used to repair the spirit ruins. Great. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. He did not expect that the problem that had troubled him for an entire night would be solved by Lil Tian just like that. This Heaven Evolution Pill Cannon was truly too powerful. Oh no, it should be said that the Lucky Halo was too powerful. It just so happened that he drew this Heavenly Evolution Pill Cannon. Chu Kuangren carefully looked at the pill recipe and found that he could find most of the herbs on it. Only one of the main ingredients was a little tricky. The Rainbow Nebula flower. This is a sacred herb. I'll have to spend some time looking for it. Chu Kuangren murmured. After memorizing the pill recipe, he held the Vitality Pill Tome in his hand and played with it for a while. From his point of view, this pill manual was like a Rubik's Cube. The design of the 9 squares was similar to that of a Rubik's Cube. 6 types of patterns, 9 of each pattern, were distributed in each small grid. If I'm bored in the future, I can walk around and play. Chu Kuangren smiled and kept it away. Master, this is the information about the black stain plumes. Lan Yu was holding a piece of information that she had just gotten from the Murong clan. Chu Kuangren's eyes flashed coldly. The Murong clan has paid the price. It's time to clean up the black stain plumes. Just as he said, no one could get away scot-free for bullying the Black Heaven sect, and the black stain plumes were no exception. After looking at the information, Chu Kuangren made up his mind. Come, let's go meet this black-stained plumes. Chu Kuangren said as he led Lan Yu down the elusive mirage. When they reached the surface, many cultivators could not help but tremble in fear when they looked at him. Wow, this master is so handsome. There were also female cultivators who did not know much about what happened to the Murong clan. They were mesmerized by him. Some of the cultivators beside them had complicated looks on their faces. He was handsome. But this guy was too scary. 2 of the Murong clan sages had died in his hands. On the street, a cultivator in a black robe saw Chu Kuangren and a hint of fear flashed across his eyes. When he saw the direction that Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu were heading to, his expression changed and he quickly left. The black-robed cultivator came to an empty street and took out a token. Then the space in front of him started to ripple. The black-robed cultivator quickly walked in and arrived at a creepy and eerie street. It was so dark that it looked like the ghost street. The passers-by were all wearing masks. The black-robed cultivator also took out a mask and put it on. He then quickly ran to a palace at the end of the street. Inside, a cultivator with a ferocious ghost mask was sitting on a throne, flipping through various books. These books recorded all kinds of shady businesses. Of course, they were also the businesses that the black-stained plumes relied on to make a living. Replying to the leader, Chu Kuangren has gotten off the ferry boat. The leader's hand trembled when he heard that. What else? He and a woman are heading towards the ghost street. Alright, I got it. Leader, since Chu Kuangren has come to the ghost street, shouldn't we avoid him for a while? We don't want to start a conflict with him. Why would we want to have a conflict with him? The black-stained plumes leader said nonchalantly. But the outside world is saying that Chu Kuangren turned the Murong clan upside down because of one of his junior brothers. Oh, interesting. Chu Kuangren seems to be a loyal person. But what does this have to do with us? The black-stained plumes leader still did not notice anything. The black-robed cultivator bit the bullet and said, that junior brother of his seems to be the Murong Yu that the Murong clan wanted us to cripple some time ago. The black-stained plumes leader dropped the book in his hand and said in disbelief, say that again. Murong Yu was crippled by us. He's Chu Kuangren's junior brother, and Chu Kuangren caused such a ruckus in the Murong clan because of him. Quick, close the ghost street. Give me a ferry boat, I want to leave now. The black-stained plumes leader was scared out of his wits. He did not care much about Chu Kuangren causing a ruckus in the Murong clan. After all, he was only involved in some shady business. No matter how much trouble the sage orthodoxies caused, it had nothing to do with him. However, he did not expect that this matter was related to the black-stained plumes. Just when the black-stained plumes leader was about to run away in fear, the entire ghost street suddenly shook violently. A crack began to appear in the dark sky of the ghost street, and the usually dark ghost street began to be flooded with blinding sunlight. The expressions of the people on the ghost street changed slightly as they looked up into the sky. The enchanted boundary of the ghost street has been broken. Who did this? What's going on? How can someone destroy the enchanted boundary of the ghost street? Are they trying to make the entire Black Warrior domain their enemy? Who dares to do such a thing? The crack grew bigger and bigger until it reached the entire sky. Finally, the dark sky collapsed. Chapter 214. On Ghost Street, Chu Kuangren stood in the air. Below him, a large piece of the void was distorting. It was an invisible enchanted boundary, and at that moment, cracks were spreading on this enchanted boundary before it finally shattered. Ghost Street was completely revealed to Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren sneered as he looked at the masked cultivators below him. The Ghost Street, the Ghost Street. It really is a place where demons and demons gather. Compared to the other 3 domains, the demonic cultivators in the Black Warrior domain were much more active. They had even formed the strange phenomenon of Ghost Street. The so-called Ghost Street was a gathering point for demonic cultivators. It was jointly created by demonic cultivator organizations in the Black Warrior domain and could be found in many places in the Black Warrior domain. Destroying Ghost Street was equivalent to making an enemy of the entire Black Warrior domain's demonic orthodoxies. Even some sage orthodoxies would not dare to go against them. The black-stained plumes was located in Ghost Street. At that moment, in the black-stained plumes at the end of Ghost Street, the black-stained plumes lord's face turned pale when he saw that Ghost Street's enchanted boundary had been destroyed. Lunatic, this lunatic. He's declaring war on the Black Warrior domain's demonic orthodoxies. How could he do such a thing just to deal with my black-stained plumes? Chu Kuangren slowly landed on the ground of Ghost Street. His footsteps were light, but it was as if the earth itself could not bear it. The moment he landed, the entire Ghost Street shook. He was dressed in a spotless white robe. His face was peerless, and with an ancient sword hanging on his waist, he looked like an otherworldly immortal. He looked completely out of place in this ghost street that was filled with demons and demons. At that moment, the immortal had descended on Ghost Street, and the demonic cultivators were terrified. Destroying Ghost Street's enchanted boundary is a public declaration of war against the entire Black Warrior domain's demonic orthodoxies. Chu Kuangren, how dare you? A masked demonic cultivator could not help but yell. The others don't dare to speak, but you're howling here. You're courting death like this, Chu Kuangren said calmly. He gently raised his hand, and a terrifying human mountain strength erupted. That demonic cultivator was killed before he could even scream. The rest of the people saw that and immediately fell silent. They had long heard of Chu Kuangren, especially the incident where he slaughtered 100,000 demonic cultivators at the Weeping Demon Mountain. That incident was widely spread among the Firmament Star's demonic orthodoxies, and it struck fear into their hearts. And just yesterday the other party had even killed 2 sages. It could be said that all demonic cultivators were extremely afraid of him. Even though they knew that the other party was the one who destroyed Ghost Street and was declaring war on all the demonic cultivators in the Black Warrior domain, they still didn't dare to move. Chu Kuangren ignored the others and set his sights on a tall black building in the distance. On the signboard of the tall building there were 3 big words. Blackstone Plume's Tower. This was the goal of his trip. He brought Lan Yu with him towards the Blackstone Plume's Tower. At the same time, the 9 Heaven Sword Prison phenomenon was deployed. 12 pillars of sword chi soared into the sky and surrounded the Blackstone Plume's Tower, ensuring that no one could leave. Chu Kuangren, what do you plan to do? The master of the Black Feather Tower walked out and asked loudly. Chu Kuangren laughed when he heard that. You guys crippled my junior brother's cultivation, and now you're asking me what I want? That's business. Some deals once done will lead to death. Chu Kuangren's eyes gradually turned cold. Chu Kuangren, the Blackstone Plume's Tower belong to the Underworld Palace, which is the largest demonic organization in the Black Warrior domain and even the entire Firmament Star. Even sage orthodoxies are wary of us. Do you really want to fight to the death with us? Seeing that Chu Kuangren was not going to let him off the hook, the Blackstone Plume's Tower master immediately brought out his biggest backer, which was the largest demonic organization, the Underworld Palace. Chu Kuangren was slightly stunned when he heard that, and then he chuckled. What a coincidence, the Underworld Palace really wants to fight me, huh? Every time the demonic cultivators cause trouble, the Underworld Palace's people will be there too. Then today I must tear down this Blackstone Plume's Tower. Chu Kuangren said indifferently and then raised his hand to attack. A majestic Taoist rhyme manifested into an ancient godly mountain in the void, and it came crashing down on the Blackstone Plume's Tower master's body. The Blackstone Plume's Tower master was sent flying and crashed into the Blackstone Plume's Tower behind him. Both he and the tower were destroyed. One by one, the assassins rushed out of the Blackstone Plume's Tower and stared at Chu Kuangren with fear before they scattered in all directions. They knew that they were no match for Chu Kuangren. Against Chu Kuangren they could only escape. A wise choice, but it's a shame that when I arrived the only path left for you was death. Majestic sword chi erupted and swept in all directions. Each streak of sword chi was a doppelganger. Thousands of sword chi transformed into thousands of clones and attacked. The surrounding assassins were terrified when they saw that, and they quickly ran for their lives. What kind of technique is this? D***MN it. Oh god, let's go. Wait, this space has been sealed. It's those sword chi pillars, it's his Taoist physique transformation. We can't escape anymore. Then let's fight it out with him. These assassins were all ruthless people who lived on the edge of a knife. When they first saw Chu Kuangren, they knew that they were no match for him, so they wanted to escape. However, now that they could no longer escape, their ferocity was aroused. In an instant, all kinds of killing techniques were launched towards Chu Kuangren. However, Chu Kuangren stood still. Their killing techniques were all destroyed by the sword chi clones, so they could not hurt him at all. The sword chi clones and the group of assassins engaged in a fierce battle. Countless surges of chi shot out, and the whole Ghost Street became extremely chaotic. Some of the cultivators who were caught up in the battle even cursed angrily. However, Chu Kuangren did not care about that at all. They were a group of demonic cultivators anyway, so it did not matter if they died. Come Lan Yu, sit. Chu Kuangren took out 2 stools out of nowhere and gave one to Lan Yu. The 2 of them then sat at the side and watched the battle like they were watching a show. Master, your sword chi clones are so powerful. Lan Yu looked at the sky full of clones and could not help but exclaim. It's not too bad. Chu Kuangren chuckled. The cultivators beside him could not help but roll their eyes when they heard that. The Sword Chi clones were so mysterious that they had never seen or heard of them before. Yet, Chu Kuangren thought it was only, not too bad? This was 2F** King infuriating. Not long after, the group of Sword Chi clones had killed all the Blackstained Plume's assassins. Chu Kuangren then put away the Emperor technique. Let's go in and have a look. Chu Kuangren brought Lan Yu into the Blackstained Plumes and looted the place. There was nothing valuable, just some soul stones and the like. After they were done, the two of them left Ghost Street. Once they were far away, the demonic cultivators who were hiding slowly emerged and looked at the direction where the two of them left with terrified expressions. There was still a huge amount of murderous chi lingering in the air. This Chu Kuangren is too scary. Yeah, he destroyed the Blackstained Plumes just like that. But this time he's wreaking havoc on Ghost Street, which means he's made an enemy out of the Black Warrior Domain's demonic orthodoxies. That's right. Besides, the Blackstained Plumes belongs to the Underworld Palace. I wonder what the Underworld Palace will do to Chu Kuangren. The crowd discussed among themselves. In less than 2 days, Chu Kuangren had killed the Murong clan's sage, destroyed the Blackstained Plumes, wreaked havoc on Ghost Street, and made an enemy out of the entire Black Warrior Domain's demonic orthodoxies. News of this spread like wildfire. It was unknown how many forces were scared half to death. Chu Kuangren's name shook the world. Chapter 215. What? Chu Kuangren killed the Murong clan sage. When the news reached the Azure Dragon Domain's sage orthodoxy's ears, everyone was dumbfounded. Some of them were so shocked that their Taoist core almost collapsed. What kind of people were sages? They were the pinnacle existences in Firmament Star. Nowadays, the Firmament Star's sage orthodoxy's leaders were all honorable supremes, and the sages were always behind the scenes. However, Chu Kuangren, who had just taken over the Black Heaven sect for a few days, had gone to the Black Warrior Domain and killed 2 of the Murong clan's sages. This news was too shocking. The Scarlet Phoenix Domain, White Tiger Domain, and Black Warrior Domain were still fine. Although they were shocked, they did not do anything. However, the Jiang Valley, Sacred Lands of Serene Wisdom, Thunder Temple, and other sage orthodoxies that were in the same domain as the Black Heaven sect were panicking. So were the sages behind them. Chu Kuangren could kill a sage. If they accidentally fell out with the Black Heaven sect in the future, Chu Kuangren alone could topple an orthodoxy without the sages doing anything. Who could stop him? All the orthodoxies sent out their own scouts to gather information. Soon, specific information about Chu Kuangren killing the Murong clan's 2 sages was presented to the sage orthodoxies. When they found out that Chu Kuangren was there to seek justice for a disciple, they were shocked. When they found out that the disciple was now useless and worthless, they were even more dumbfounded. Chu Kuangren did not hesitate to go to war with the Murong clan and kill 2 of their sages for a worthless piece of trash. *CK. Was Chu Kuangren a lunatic? However, it was precisely because of this that everyone was even more afraid of Chu Kuangren. They did not know what kind of reason a lunatic like Chu Kuangren would one day do. This guy did not play by the rules at all. Try not to get into conflict with the Black Heaven sect from now on. Yeah, Chu Kuangren would do something like this just for a crippled disciple. Who knows what kind of crazy things he'll do if he really offends the Black Heaven sect. *eminent, how can there be such a lunatic in this world? A lunatic isn't scary. The scary thing is that this lunatic has the ability to kill a sage. Chu Kuangren, that's the right name. Isn't the Black Heaven sect fighting with us for the Soul Stone mine in the south? Pass down the order. Stop fighting and let them have it. What the hell is this? Within the Azure Dragon Domain, all the sage orthodoxies were making their moves. Their fear of Chu Kuangren had reached its peak. Even the sages were the same. Besides the Azure Dragon Domain, the demonic organizations in the Black Warrior Domain had also found out about Chu Kuangren destroying Ghost Street's enchanted boundary and annihilating the Blackstained Plumes. However, these demonic cultivators were afraid of Chu Kuangren's strength and dared not make a move. They turned their attention to the underworld, the largest and most mysterious demonic organization in Firmament Star, hoping that they could come up with a solution. Unfortunately, there was no response from Hell for several days in a row. His attitude made everyone understand. The Underworld Palace was also afraid of Chu Kuangren. All of a sudden, Chu Kuangren became a taboo in the entire demonic orthodoxy. Even his Black Heaven sect and its affiliated forces had become a forbidden land in the eyes of the entire demonic orthodoxy. The illusionary mirage sailed above the sea of clouds. At this moment, Chu Kuangren and the others were already on their way back. This illusionary mirage is truly magnificent. Black Heaven's second forefather was on the illusionary mirage as well. He could not help but be amazed as he looked at the palaces and pavilions. This illusionary mirage really belongs to the little guy. Yes, I obtained it by chance. Lan Yu nodded slightly and said what Chu Kuangren had taught her. Although she felt that it was no different from not saying anything. As expected. Black Heaven's second forefather rolled his eyes when he heard her explanation. By chance? Which one of them was not obtained by chance? Like Honorable Xian Qi, Elder Rian, and the others, Black Heaven's second forefather could not help but want to complain, but he did not pursue the matter. Inside one of the pavilions of the illusionary mirage, Chu Kuangren was sitting cross-legged, cultivating. He had killed 2 sages in a row on this trip to the Murong clan, which was a huge drain on him. Moreover, he had a grudge with the Black Warrior domain's demonic orthodoxies. However, it was all worth it to him. Firstly, he had helped Murong Xian seek justice. Secondly, he had shocked the various forces. Thirdly, he had refined 2 sage bodies, which had stabilized his honorable realm cultivation and even helped him achieve a breakthrough. Now he was in the mid-stage honorable realm. 2 sage bodies only helped me increase my cultivation by 1 small realm. It seems like it gets harder and harder to increase my cultivation as I progress. Especially with my foundation, breaking through requires more spiritual power and resources than the average cultivator. It's not easy at all. Chu Kuangren forging a supreme foundation was indeed a good thing. However, the only drawback was that to break through, he would need to spend 10 times or even 10 times more spiritual power than the average cultivator. However, every breakthrough would give him a terrifying increase in combat strength. Compared to that, that small drawback was nothing. Not to mention that Chu Kuangren had a cheat like the fantasy roulette. Others might lack resources, but he had never lacked anything along the way. Now, let's think about how to repair Murong Xian's spiritual mound. Where should I find a sage-grade herb like the 7-colored nebula flower? Chu Kuangren murmured. Why don't I try using the treasure locating skill? With that thought, Chu Kuangren activated the treasure locating skill. He did not hold out much hope. Although the treasure locating skill could search for treasures in the world, there was a limit to its range. He could not possibly find the sage-grade herb nearby. Sure enough, it was the first time he searched. He did not find much, but he did find a few ordinary treasures. He did not pay much attention to them, nor did he take them. The elusive mirage sailed for a while more. He activated the treasure locating skill again. This time he did not hold out much hope. 30,000 miles south, there is an honorable supreme herb, the 6-ons herb. 30,000 miles south, there is an honorable supreme herb, the coiling dragon flower. 30,000 miles south, there is a sage supreme herb, the sage supreme herb, the 7-colored nebula flower. The treasure locating skill's feedback came. Chu Kuangren's expression suddenly became a little strange. *CKME. There really was a 7-colored nebula flower. His luck points were maxed out. The lucky halo was amazing. According to the treasure locating skill's feedback, it was not only the 7-colored nebula flower but also a large number of other supreme herbs. They were all gathered in the same place, which was about 30,000 miles south. 30,000 miles south, is there anything special about that place? Chu Kuangren murmured. No matter what, since there was news about the 7-colored nebula flower, Chu Kuangren had to check it out no matter what. Hence, he immediately changed the direction of the elusive mirage. On the elusive mirage, Black Heaven's second forefather and the others also noticed the elusive mirage's change of direction. At that moment, Chu Kuangren just happened to walk out of the pavilion. Master, where are we going? To the south, to look for herbs to heal Murong Xian's injuries. Beside him, Black Heaven's second forefather was surprised. Do you know how to heal a spiritual mound injury? Yes. Black Heaven's second forefather was shocked. Didn't you say you were helpless 2 days ago and that you wanted to study it? Yeah, I've researched it. That fast? Black Heaven's second forefather was stunned. Chapter 216. Black Heaven's second forefather was stunned. Although he was not proficient in alchemy, he knew how difficult it was to heal one's spiritual mound, not to mention without the help of the pill recipe. Chu Kuangren said he wanted to research it himself. He did not think it was impossible. After all, Chu Kuangren had created too many incredible things. Just because others could not figure it out did not mean he could not. However, this was too fast. He just mentioned it 2 days ago and now he had already figured it out? Black Heaven's second forefather felt like it was child's play. Spiritual mound injuries had been a problem for the alchemy world for countless years. Countless alchemists had tried to solve it but to no avail. Yet now Chu Kuangren had figured it out in 2 days. Damn, is he even human? Suddenly he recalled Chu Kuangren's astonishing feat of creating 12 sage techniques consecutively within half a day. He felt that it was not that hard to understand anymore. Monster. Black Heaven's second forefather muttered. In Firmament Star, other than the sage orthodoxies and sages, there were also some rogue sages who did not create or attach themselves to any forces. For example, the Azure Dragon Domain's Whitelock Sage. In the Black Warrior Domain there was also such a sage. Black Warrior Domain somewhere in a valley. Today many cultivators had gathered outside the valley. These people looked into the valley with anticipation. I can't believe that Fairfrost Sage would invite us here to study the Iron Alchemy Pill Scroll. This is great. I heard that the Iron Alchemy Pill Scroll contains the inheritance of an alchemy grandmaster. Whoever can complete the 88 incomplete pill recipes will be able to obtain the inheritance. When that happens it'll be amazing. I know. That's an alchemy grandmaster we're talking about. Even sages have to treat him with respect. If I can complete the pill recipes on it, TSK. You're daydreaming. At that moment, an old man was escorted by a group of people. This old man was dressed in a white robe and looked kind, but the surrounding alchemists were very respectful towards him. Master Li, it's been a long time. I didn't expect to see Master Li here. I still remember Master Li's elegant demeanor when he was refining the Supreme Treasure Pill. Master Li is our Black Warrior Domain and even the entire Firmament Star's alchemy world. With you here, the pill recipes of the Iron Alchemy Pill Scroll will definitely be completed. That's right. You flatter me too much. You all think too highly of me. Although Grandmaster Li tried his best to restrain himself, it was obvious from the smile on his face that he was very happy with everyone's compliments. At this time, not far away, another person walked over under the compliments of the crowd. This person was Grandmaster Gu Jiang, who had already joined the mysterious Sky Sect. Grandmaster Li looked over and his expression was a little ugly. Oh, I was wondering who it was. It turns out to be Grandmaster Gu. Grandmaster Li said sarcastically. Gu Jiang looked over and his face stiffened. He then snorted and said, Master Li, I didn't expect you to come too. Since the Fairfrost Sage has opened up the Iron Alchemy Pill Scroll, how could I not come? On the other hand, Master Gu, I heard that you've joined the Black Heaven sect a few days ago. I didn't expect you to come all the way here as well. It must have been tough on your old bones. Same here. Speaking of which, Master Gu has always prided himself on being virtuous and never joined any forces. Why would he join the Black Heaven sect? It has nothing to do with you. The atmosphere between the two grandmasters was somewhat tense. The other alchemists around them began to whisper among themselves. I heard that Master Li and Master Gu are not on good terms. Seems like it's true. Isn't that so? Those two have been fighting for hundreds of years. What's going on between them? TSK, two tigers cannot live on the same mountain. Both of them are well-known figures in the alchemy world, and they often have different opinions on alchemy. They've been fighting each other ever since they were young, and as time went by they became like this. People of the same trade are always enemies. Among the crowd, two of them looked at Gu Jiang with surprise in their eyes. Their faces were shrouded in a faint glow of spiritual power, making it hard for people to see their faces clearly. However, the faint outline of their faces was already breathtaking enough. They were two peerless figures. Those two were Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu. The reason why they had to hide their faces was because both of them were too outstanding, especially Chu Kuangren. That was why they did not want to cause a commotion. I didn't expect to meet Master Gu here. Chu Kuangren murmured. Then he retracted his gaze and looked into the depths of the valley. According to his treasure locating skill, the 7-colored nebula flower was in the depths of this valley, and this place was the residence of a sage. That 7-colored nebula flower must belong to this sage as well. He would have to put in more effort to obtain such a supreme elixir. At that moment, a ray of light swept out from the valley. It was a beautiful female cultivator. She said to the crowd, "The sage invites everyone into the valley." The crowd was delighted as they entered the valley one after another. Once they entered the valley, they were instantly attracted by all kinds of exotic flowers and herbs. This is snow orchid grass. There's so much of it. Wow, a 7-petal snow lotus. Such a supreme elixir would cost at least tens of thousands of top-tier soulstones in the outside world. I can't believe there's so many of them here. Look, those are honorable supreme elixirs on the mountain walls. The crowd of alchemists exclaimed as if they had never seen such a thing before. Chu Kuangren was also quite surprised. It seems that this sage is quite proficient in planting. Along the way the crowd saw all kinds of exotic flowers and herbs. When they arrived at an empty space in the valley, a book was erected there. However, that book was too big. It was like a giant stone tablet and there were runes written on it. However, there were many blank spaces between the runes as if they were incomplete. In front of that book sat a lady in a white dress. She had waist-length black hair, snow-white skin, delicate facial features, and a gentle temperament. It's the Fair Frost Sage. Greetings, Sage. Greetings, Sage. Facing a sage, the crowd dared not delay and quickly bowed. The Fair Frost Sage smiled at the crowd and said, "There's no need to be so courteous. I'm sure you all know why I've invited you here today. Just like all of you, I'm also an alchemist. This iron alchemy pill scroll has been in my possession for 1,000 years, but I've never been able to complete all the pill recipes. That's why I've invited all of you here to help me decipher it. I hope that with everyone's combined strength, we'll be able to reap some benefits." The Fair Frost Sage's voice was like an orchid in an empty valley that entered everyone's ears. The crowd stared at the iron alchemy pill scroll with fiery eyes. "Sage, rumor has it that this iron alchemy pill scroll contains an alchemy grandmaster's inheritance. Is it true?" At that moment, one of the alchemists mustered up the courage to ask. "Yes." The Fair Frost Sage nodded. "If someone can really complete all the pill recipes, then may I ask who should this alchemy grandmaster's inheritance belong to?" Whoever completes the most pill recipes will be the one to claim it." The Fair Frost Sage was amused. What a joke. She had studied for 1,000 years and had only completed a dozen or so pill recipes. She did not believe that anyone could complete all the pill recipes. The reason why she invited the crowd of alchemists here today was because she wanted to borrow everyone's strength to complete as many as possible. As for completing all the pill recipes and obtaining the alchemy grandmaster's inheritance, she did not have high hopes. Where in the firmament star could there be such an alchemist? Chapter 217. Master Li, Master Gu, please come over here. Let us discuss the pill recipes on this scroll, the Fair Frost Sage said. It's my honor to be invited by the sage. Alright, I'll take my leave then. The two alchemy masters dared not delay the sage's invitation. The Fair Frost Sage smiled. I'm also an alchemy master. From now on we're equals. There's no need to be so courteous. Yes. The three of them sat on the floor and began to discuss the pill recipes on the scroll. The other alchemists also began to study it. There were a total of 88 incomplete pill recipes on the iron alchemy pill scroll. 17 of them had already been completed, leaving only 71. The Fair Frost Sage had only managed to complete 17 pill recipes after studying for 1,000 years. One could see how difficult it was to complete all of them. Some of the alchemists frowned as they read on. Chu Kuangren was among them too. He was also an alchemy grandmaster, so he was quite interested in the incomplete pill recipes on the scroll. Like the others, he began to study it. I think we should add the Qingyuan flower here. Yes, I think so too. No, the Qingyuan flower's medicinal properties are too strong. It's not suitable. The Fair Frost Sage, Gujiang, and Master Li were the three alchemists with the highest standards aside from Chu Kuangren. However, their discussion was also the most intense. There were a few times when Master Li and Gujiang would have fought each other if not for the Fair Frost Sage's presence. However, the Fair Frost Sage was able to gain some inspiration from this heated discussion, especially some of Gujiang's opinions, which were very unique and often gave her a sense of enlightenment. Master Gu is indeed a renowned alchemy master. Your alchemy skills far surpass mine. I'm impressed. The Fair Frost Sage looked at Gujiang and praised. Next to him, Grand Master Li felt very upset. The Fair Frost Sage praised Gujiang but not him. Did that not mean that he was inferior to Gujiang? In fact, Master Li had also noticed something strange. Gujiang's alchemy skills had improved a lot compared to before. Unknowingly, Gujiang had surpassed him. What the hell was going on? I've recently received some guidance from an expert. That's why I'm able to explain. Otherwise, I'd be a laughingstock in front of the sage. Gujiang smiled faintly. These words surprised the two of them. After all, Gujiang's alchemy skills were already one of the best in the entire firmament star. Who was it that was able to guide him? To be able to instruct Grandmaster Gu, his attainments in alchemy must be extraordinary. If I can invite this person to study the pill scroll with me, I'm sure we'll get twice the result with half the effort. I wonder who this person is? The Fairfrost sage asked directly. Ha, this man is the Black Heaven sect leader, Chu Kuangren. Gujiang laughed and said something shocking. At that, the Fairfrost sage's expression froze, and Master Li's face was filled with disbelief. Chu Kuangren? You're talking about that little brat. He can give you pointers on the Tao of alchemy. What kind of joke are you talking about? Master Li, please watch your words. The sect leader is the leader of the sage orthodoxy. What you said just now was already very disrespectful. Gujiang said coldly. You. Master Li's face turned pale when he heard that, but he could not find any words to refute. That was because Chu Kuangren's name was known throughout the world. Not only was he the leader of a sage orthodoxy, but he was also a peerless cultivator who could slay a sage. He was indeed not someone he could casually talk about even if he was an alchemy master. Even the Fairfrost sage had a serious look in her eyes when she mentioned Chu Kuangren's name. Chu Kuangren is indeed a genius in cultivation, but does he have such attainments in alchemy as well? Absolutely. I only chose to join the Black Heaven sect because of our sect leader. Gujiang nodded and said. I don't believe you. Master Li snorted coldly. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Gujiang could not be bothered with him. Alright, let's continue to study this pill recipe. The Fairfrost sage noticed that the atmosphere was getting serious, so she changed the topic to the pill scroll. The three of them continued to study, but this time, the frequency of the Fairfrost sage's discussion with Gujiang was much higher than with Master Li. In the beginning, she would occasionally talk to Master Li for the sake of saving him some face. However, gradually, the Fairfrost sage and Gujiang became immersed in the mysteries of alchemy and completely forgot about him. After all, Gujiang had been taught by Chu Kuangren for a period of time, so his understanding of alchemy had long surpassed Master Li's. Seeing that, Master Li was filled with resentment towards the two of them. However, he could not show it in front of the sage. In the crowd, Chu Kuangren retracted his attention from the pill scroll. It was not difficult for him to complete the 88 pill recipes on this pill scroll, but it would take time. It would take at least 10 days to half a month. If word of that got out, the alchemists present would probably be scared half to death. After all, the Fairfrost sage only managed to complete a dozen or so pill recipes after studying for 1,000 years. However, Chu Kuangren only needed 10 days to half a month to complete all the pill recipes on the pill scroll. This was simply too fantastical. However, that was the power of an alchemy grandmaster. Although the Fairfrost sage was a sage, her level in alchemy was at most half an alchemy grandmaster. How could she be compared to Chu Kuangren? I don't have the time to stay here for 10 days to half a month. I need to get my hands on the 7-colored nebula flower as soon as possible. Chu Kuangren murmured. Compared to relying on himself to complete the pill recipes, he had a faster and more convenient way. He took out a Rubik's Cube. It was the Vitality Pill Tome. Little Tian, take a look at the pill recipes on this pill scroll and help me complete them. Chu Kuangren summoned the item spirit Little Tian. Leave it to me, master. Little Tian patted his chest confidently. In fact, to Little Tian, who was a master of alchemy from the past to the present, this was indeed a small matter. He then entered the Rubik's Cube. The Rubik's Cube spun a few times and soon, a complete pill recipe flowed into Chu Kuangren's mind. It was the complete version of the incomplete pill recipes on the pill scroll. In just a short while, the dozens of incomplete pill recipes that had stumped countless alchemists had all been completed. That was how unreasonable Chu Kuangren was. Chu Kuangren walked out of the crowd and came before the Fairfrost sage and the other two alchemists. He said, "Sage, I can complete all the pill recipes on this pill scroll." As soon as he said that, all the alchemists stopped their research and looked at Chu Kuangren in unison, their eyes filled with suspicion. Who is this person? He can complete all the pill recipes on the pill scroll? Could it be that this person is still asleep? He's talking in his sleep. Are you kidding me? The sage has studied for 1,000 years and only managed to complete a dozen or so recipes. I won't believe that he can complete all of them. That's right, he's probably here to cause trouble. Trying to attract the sage's attention with this method? Hey, he's just trying to impress the crowd. The Fairfrost sage, who was discussing with Gujiang, looked at Chu Kuangren. She did not care when she saw that his face was covered with a faint layer of spiritual light. However, she could sense that the person before her was not as simple as he seemed. She could vaguely sense a sense of danger that she had not felt for a long time. Gujiang also felt that this person looked familiar, but since he could not see Chu Kuangren's face clearly, he could not recognize him. However, he scoffed at Chu Kuangren's claim that he could complete all the pill recipes on the pill scroll. Junior, the pill recipes on this pill scroll are filled with endless mysteries. I think you should go back and study them for 1,000 years before saying that. Chu Kuangren raised an eyebrow. Gujiang, how dare you talk to your sect leader like that? I shall not deduct your salary when I return. Chapter 218. Gujiang shuddered inexplicably for some reason. Beside him, Master Li, who was already dissatisfied with being ignored, glared at Chu Kuangren even more harshly. Complete all the pill recipes? Even the masters here wouldn't dare to say something like that. How dare you spout such nonsense here? Get lost. Chu Kuangren glared at him. Through the spiritual aura, Chu Kuangren's cold gaze caused Master Li's body to tremble and his heart to skip a beat. Since you can't do it, then shut your mouth. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. You really don't know what's good for you. Master Li was so angry that his face turned pale. Not many people in the alchemy realm dared to speak to him like that. The other alchemists looked at each other and began to discuss among themselves. Who is this person? How dare he speak to Master Li like that? I don't know. But no matter how powerful his background is, I don't think he can compare to Master Li. Not only is he an alchemy master, but he's also the Overlord Sage Tribe's royal alchemy master and guest elder. The Overlord Sage Tribe is the strongest tribe in the Black Warrior domain. Even some sage orthodoxies dare not provoke them. How dare this guy speak to Master Li like that? He must be tired of living. Chu Kuangren heard the crowd's words. Although he was a little surprised by Master Li's background, he did not care too much. So what if he was the Overlord Sage Tribe's guest elder? He was still the Black Heaven sect leader. If you can complete the pill recipes, then please give it a try. At that moment, Fairfrost Sage said. It was not that she believed Chu Kuangren, but she did not mind letting him give it a try. After all, there was nothing to lose. Sage, after I complete the pill recipes, I don't need the Alchemy Grandmaster's inheritance. However, I have a condition. Oh, you're already stating your condition? It seems like you're very confident in yourself. Fairfrost Sage stared at Chu Kuangren as if she wanted to see through the layer of spiritual aura and see his true face. Speak. I want to exchange the Alchemy Grandmaster's inheritance for the 7-colored nebula flower in the sage's hands, Chu Kuangren said. His words were like a bolt of lightning. All the alchemists' expressions changed. What did he just say? The Rainbow Nebula Flower, the legendary sacred herb, the Rainbow Nebula Flower. I've only seen this in ancient books. How could it be here? Rumor has it that the medicinal effects of this flower are shocking, and it has the effect of reviving the dead. It can even mend one's spiritual ruins and nourish one's meridians. If a cultivator below the sage realm consumes it, they can immediately break through a realm. The Fairfrost Sage was shocked as well. I've never told anyone about the existence of this flower. How did you know about it? I have nothing to say about that. Sage, just tell me if you want to trade or not. Chu Kuangren did not want to reveal too much. The Fairfrost Sage pondered for a moment. A stock of holy medicine was indeed incomparably precious, but compared to the inheritance of an alchemy grandmaster, it was still quite lacking. She weighed her options and said, Okay. It's a deal. Chu Kuangren chuckled. He was not afraid that the Fairfrost Sage would go back on her words. If she did, he would just take it by force. He walked in front of the iron alchemy scroll, raised his hand, and struck a blank spot on the scroll with a burst of spiritual energy. A few words appeared. Snow antlers. Look, the pill scroll is reacting. The pill scroll vibrated and emitted a burst of white light. It was a sign that the pill scroll had acknowledged Chu Kuangren's supplementation of medicinal ingredients. I can't believe he actually managed to complete one of them. Tisk, I can't believe this guy has some tricks up his sleeve. But it's too difficult to complete all the pill recipes. I don't believe he can do it. Chu Kuangren did not care about the crowd's shock. He continued to unleash surges of spiritual energy onto the blank spots on the pill scroll. As the medicinal ingredients were added one by one, the pill scroll vibrated and emitted a burst of white light, acknowledging Chu Kuangren. Everyone, including the Fairfrost Sage, was dumbfounded by that scene. Hey, are you kidding me? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? This is too unbelievable. When the last medicinal ingredient was added, the entire pill scroll emitted a dazzling light that shook the entire valley. A stream of light flew out from the pill scroll and turned into an ancient thread-bound book with countless runes circulating on it. That's the inheritance of an alchemy grandmaster. By the heavens, he really did it. Everyone exclaimed in shock. Even the Fairfrost sage's mouth was slightly agape, unable to speak for a long time. She had researched for close to 1,000 years, but she had only managed to complete a dozen or so pill recipes. Yet now, Chu Kuangren had completed all the pill recipes in just a short while. Wasn't this difference a little too great? The Fairfrost sage felt that her 1,000 years of research had been in vain. When no one noticed, the Fairfrost sage pinched her arm. I don't think I'm dreaming. Speaking of which, could sages dream too? At that moment, Chu Kuangren grabbed the ancient book that was floating in the air and a wave of information flooded his mind. This is an alchemy grandmaster's insights. Chu Kuangren flipped through the book a few times and came to a sudden realization. So this was what the inheritance was referring to. Compared to using the Alchemy Master Experience card directly, this alchemy insight was a few levels lower since he had to slowly research it himself. Besides, Chu Kuangren was an alchemy grandmaster himself, so this alchemy insight was not very useful to him. Hence he did not miss it. He took the insight and was about to look for the Fairfrost sage to exchange it for the 7-colored nebula flower. However, Master Li, who was beside him, rushed up and reached out to grab the insight in Chu Kuangren's hand. Quick, let me have a look. How rude. Chu Kuangren snorted and a majestic surge of qi surged from his body, sending Master Li, who was an honorable, flying. Master Li fell flat on his face. He got up and glared at Chu Kuangren. How dare you hit me, kid? Chu Kuangren glanced at him. Did your brain burn from all the alchemy? What's wrong with me hitting you for trying to steal something from me? I didn't steal it. I just wanted to have a look. He was too excited. That was an alchemy grandmaster's inheritance. To an alchemist like him who had been stuck at the grandmaster level for many years, it was the key to becoming an alchemy grandmaster. That's not up to you. Chu Kuangren said coldly and walked towards the Fairfrost sage. The alchemy grandmaster's inheritance is here. I hope you can fulfill your promise. Please follow me, sir. The Fairfrost sage suppressed her excitement and brought Chu Kuangren to retrieve the 7-colored nebula flower. The crowd was reluctant to part as they watched the two of them leave. That was an alchemy grandmaster's inheritance after all. To any alchemist, it was an irresistible temptation. It was too rare. Especially Master Li, who stared at Chu Kuangren's back. His eyes were filled with passion, hatred, and all sorts of other emotions. As if he had made up his mind, a determined look flashed across his eyes before he turned around and left. The female cultivator who brought the crowd into the valley earlier also walked out and said to the crowd, "The sage has said that since all of you have come from afar, you may stay in the valley for 3 days and look around as you please." Thank you, sage. Ha, we won't stand on ceremony then. Chapter 219. I can't believe someone actually managed to complete all the pill recipes. Who is that person? It's unbelievable. Yeah, does the firmament star even have such an alchemist? Tisk tisk, an eye-opener, an eye-opener. The group of alchemists did not plan to leave immediately. Even if they could not obtain the Grandmaster's inheritance, the valley was still the residence of a sage. The scenery was beautiful, and the place was filled with exotic flowers and herbs. To the group of alchemists, it was still a place of great entertainment value. Many of them decided to stay for 3 days before leaving. At the same time, some of them wanted to take this opportunity to find out more about Chu Kuangren's identity. An alchemist of this level must be befriended. Among the crowd, Gujiang kept replaying Chu Kuangren's departing figure in his mind. It felt very familiar. Suddenly he thought of something and gulped. Could it be? No way, it can't be. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. After all, other than Chu Kuangren, he could not think of anyone else in the firmament star who had such a high level of alchemy. Chu Kuangren followed the Fairfrost sage into the depths of the valley. There were many more precious herbs growing here, and each of them was an honorable supreme elixir. If the group of alchemists outside saw this, they would be extremely excited. Are you an expert in growing these herbs, sage? Chu Kuangren was deep in thought. I obtained a technique that can catalyze the growth of herbs in my early years. I've been cultivating it ever since, and I've grown quite a number of flowers and herbs. The Fairfrost sage smiled. These honorable supreme elixirs were extremely precious to outsiders, but to her, they were just ordinary flowers and herbs that were used to decorate the scenery of the valley. A nice move, sage. Chu Kuangren exclaimed. Fairfrost's technique of catalyzing the growth of herbs was too extraordinary. It might not be a big deal to an individual, but it would be very useful to an orthodoxy. After all kinds of supreme elixirs were important strategic resources for orthodoxies. This technique of catalyzing the growth of supreme elixirs was enough to make an orthodoxy far surpass other orthodoxies in terms of supreme elixir resources. Unfortunately, the Fairfrost sage was an indifferent person. She did not join any orthodoxy, nor did she have the intention to create one. Otherwise, this method of hers would definitely be able to shine brilliantly. By the way, your technique must be extraordinary to be able to complete the pill recipe on the pill scroll. Can you tell me your name so that I can see your face? The Fairfrost sage was just too curious about Chu Kuangren. Seeing that no one was around, Chu Kuangren felt that there was no longer a need to hide it anymore, so he nodded slightly at Lan Yu. Lan Yu understood and removed the spiritual glow from his face, revealing a face of unmatched elegance that even the Fairfrost sage was stunned by. She then looked at Chu Kuangren. When Chu Kuangren released his spiritual light and revealed his true appearance, even a sage like her could not help but be stunned. She didn't know how to describe that face. It was as if in front of that face, any words of praise would pale in comparison. That face was breathtaking. The Fairfrost sage's heart, which had remained calm for thousands of years, began to ripple as her Taoist heart palpitated. Sage. Chu Kuangren looked at the stunned sage and waved his hand in front of him. My apologies for my rudeness. I didn't expect you to be such a celestial being. The Fairfrost sage snapped out of her trance and quickly apologized. At the same time, she secretly scolded herself for not living up to expectations. Having lived for thousands of years, what kind of men had she not seen before? To think that she would be attracted by the other party's looks. She was really too shallow. But he's just too good looking. The more Fairfrost sage looked at him, the more she liked him. She even had the thought of locking him up in the valley for the rest of his life. Fortunately, her Taoist core was strong enough to extinguish that dangerous thought. I had no choice but to hide my identity from you, sage. I'm sorry. Now allow me to introduce myself. I'm Chu Kuangren and this is Lan Yu. Chu Kuangren said. It's all right. The Fairfrost sage did not blame Chu Kuangren. With such good looks, he would be forgiven no matter what he did. Hold on. What's this guy's name again? The Fairfrost sage suddenly regained her senses and her expression froze. You're Chu Kuangren, the Black Heaven sect leader? That's right. Chu Kuangren nodded. It really is you. The Fairfrost sage was shocked. Chu Kuangren was so famous that everyone in the world knew about him. Even if the Fairfrost sage did not pay attention to worldly affairs, she had still heard of him. She could not associate this immortal-like figure in front of her with the maniac who had wreaked havoc in the Murong clan and killed 2 of their sages. It seems that the Murong clan has really gone too far, to actually make someone like fellow Taoist Chu so angry. Yes, it must be the Murong clan's fault. Soon, the Fairfrost sage brought Chu Kuangren and Murong Xian to a frosty pond in the valley. The frosty pond was filled with chilly air, and in the middle of the pond, there was a supreme elixir that was emanating waves of light that swayed gently. The supreme elixir was shaped like a peony, but the colors of its petals were different. There were 7 colors of red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple. It was a beautiful sight to behold. This is the 7-colored nebula flower. Back then, I obtained a seed and planted it for almost 100 years before it matured, the Fairfrost sage said. Even with her ability to catalyze the growth of medicinal herbs, she still needed to plant it for 100 years before the sage-grade herb matured. One could see how rare sage-grade herbs were. Thank you, sage. A smile appeared on Chu Kuangren's face after he took the sage-grade herb. With this, Murong Xian's spiritual mound could be saved. Brother Chu, are you leaving now? If you're not in a hurry, can you stay in the valley for a few more days? I'd like to take the opportunity to exchange some alchemy knowledge with you, Brother Chu, the Fairfrost sage said hopefully. Although she had obtained the alchemy grandmaster's insights, there were still too many mysteries that she needed to study. If she had an alchemy grandmaster like Chu Kuangren to guide her, she would definitely be able to get twice the results with half the effort. Chu Kuangren pondered for a while before he said, speaking of which, there are a lot of medicinal herbs in this valley. I'm planning to refine a type of medicinal pill, and I can use your precious land to do so. I wonder if you'll allow me to, sage. Ah, of course. The Fairfrost sage smiled and agreed immediately. By the way, what kind of medicinal pill are you planning to refine, Brother Chu? Soul healing pill. Soul healing pill, an unheard of medicinal pill. It's used to mend one's spiritual mound. The Fairfrost sage's expression changed when she heard that. Mend one's spiritual mound had been a difficult problem in the alchemy world for countless years. Countless alchemists were helpless against it. She did not expect Chu Kuangren to want to refine such a medicinal pill. The Fairfrost sage could not help but look forward to it. Outside the Fairfrost Valley, Master Li, who had just left, said to the void, "Contact the tribe leader. Tell him that I have something important to discuss with him." "What is it?" An old man walked out from the void. This person was an honorable supreme, and a domineering aura emanated from his body. He was a strong cultivator from the Overlord Sage tribe. "I want the Grandmaster's inheritance in the Fairfrost Sage's hands. With that inheritance, I can definitely become an alchemy Grandmaster," Master Li said passionately. "But that's a sage." The old man frowned. "Is there a shortage of sages in the Overlord Sage tribe? As long as I can become an alchemy Grandmaster, I'll be able to refine a higher grade of the Prime Tyrant Supreme Pill. This will be a great achievement for the entire Overlord Sage tribe. So what if we offend a sage for this?" After listening to Master Li, the old man pondered and said, "I'll report this to the tribe leader and let him decide." Chapter 220. In the Frost Valley. Chu Kuangren had already collected all the herbs needed to refine the soul-healing pill. All that was left to do was to refine it. For this reason, he purposely asked the Fairfrost sage to borrow the alchemy room. In the alchemy room, Chu Kuangren was in the midst of alchemy, and bursts of pill fragrance filled the air. The spiritual mending pill that he was refining now was a sage-grade pill. There were only a handful of people in the entire firmament star who could refine it. In any case, he had never heard of anyone refining a saint pill in the past few thousand years. Even for Chu Kuangren, it would take him a lot of effort to refine such a sage-grade pill. Hence, he had done a lot of preparation work. Looking at Chu Kuangren, who was in the midst of alchemy, the Fairfrost sage's eyes revealed a hint of admiration. What a brilliant technique. Chu Kuangren's movements were as smooth as flowing water, full of beauty. Coupled with his extraordinary temperament and appearance, watching him refine pills was not as boring as watching other alchemists. It was like appreciating an art form. This was the so-called skill nearing the way. As she stared at him, the Fairfrost sage's attention was gradually drawn to Chu Kuangren's face, and her mind began to wander. Her face was slightly red. When she saw Lan Yu looking at her with a strange expression, she coughed twice and said, "Fellow Taoist Chu is refining the sage elixir, so it's best not to be disturbed by outsiders. I'll go and tell them to keep as far away as possible." "Thank you, sage. It's my duty." After leaving the alchemy lab, the Fairfrost sage breathed a sigh of relief at the door. She couldn't help but shake her head and sigh with emotion. What a monster. The Tao heart that he cultivated for thousands of years has actually become slightly chaotic. Suddenly she seemed to sense something. She looked down at the valley and frowned. This aura, it's a sage. Her place was very peaceful and quiet. Other than this time when she called a group of pill masters over to study the iron alchemy pill scroll together, no one else would come to visit her. So why would a saint suddenly come over? However, she did not pay much attention to it. She just thought that it was a saint who passed by and specially came to pay a visit. However, the Fairfrost sage soon changed her mind. In the sky above the clear Frost Valley, a terrifying pressure suddenly descended, causing all the alchemists' expressions to change. This is the aura of a sage. What's going on? Why is there an aura of a sage? Did someone offend a sage? Look, there's someone up there. The alchemists raised their heads with great difficulty and saw two people standing in the air above the valley. The vast and mighty pressure was emanating from one of them. It was a middle-aged man in a gray robe with a stocky build. There was another person beside the middle-aged man. It was Grandmaster Li, who had just left not long ago. Seeing him, everyone could guess the identity of this sage. Such a domineering aura. Could it be the Overlord Sage tribe? Master Li is there too. He's the Overlord Sage tribe's imperial alchemist. That sage is most likely from the Overlord Sage tribe as well. Judging by their aura, they don't seem to have good intentions. That's right. What exactly do Master Li and the others want to do? Are you stupid? You can't even guess that. I'm guessing Master Li has his eyes on the Alchemy Grandmaster's inheritance in the Fairfrost Sage's hands. He wants to use the Overlord Sage to steal the inheritance. Isn't this a little too shameless? The crowd of alchemists discussed animatedly. At this time, the Fairfrost Sage walked out from the depths of the valley and stood in front of the Overlord Sage. She said calmly, "You've just arrived and you've already made such a show of strength. How impressive." I'm Grey Grill of the Overlord Sage tribe. I'm here to exchange the Alchemy Grandmaster's inheritance with the Fairfrost Sage, Grey Grill Sage said calmly before taking out an yin and yang ring and tossing it to the Fairfrost Sage. Oh, an exchange? There are 20 sage-to-be herbs, 50 million superior spiritual stones, and 20 drops of heaven's spiritual marrow in this universe ring. Is that enough? The Grey Grill Sage said. I'm sorry, but I have yet to fully understand the Alchemy Grandmaster's inheritance, so I can't give it to you. The Fairfrost Sage tossed the yin and yang ring back. Fairfrost Sage, to tell you the truth, the Alchemy Grandmaster's inheritance is ours. We must take it with us today. Heh, it seems like Grandmaster Li means a lot to the Overlord Rope Saint tribe. I can't believe you guys didn't hesitate to use your sages to snatch him away. The Fairfrost Sage could not help but glance at Grandmaster Li a few more times. Grandmaster Li's face lit up with complacency. Who told you to ignore me? Now you know how powerful I am. Are you guys going to make a move if I don't hand it over? The Fairfrost Sage asked with a murderous look. The Grey Grill Sage pondered for a moment before replying, yes. As soon as he finished speaking, an extremely powerful Sage Taoist rhyme locked onto the Fairfrost Sage, ready to strike at any time. Well done, the Overlord Saint tribe. You guys are indeed the Overlord. If someone doesn't want to give it to you guys are really lawless. The Fairfrost Sage was furious. In the Black Warrior domain, the Overlord Saint tribe is the law and the heavens. The Grey Grill Sage said domineeringly. As soon as he said that, the crowd was in an uproar. They did not expect the Grey Grill Sage to say such a thing. However, when they thought about it carefully, the Overlord Saint tribe was the strongest among the few sage orthodoxies in the Black Warrior domain, so the Grey Grill Sage did have the right to say such things. It's not easy for you to cultivate to the level of a sage. It's better for you to hand over the Grandmaster's inheritance so that you don't make a mistake, the Grey Grill Sage continued. The Fairfrost Sage was furious. I'd like to see what the Overlord Saint tribe can do to me today. If you're asking for it. The Grey Grill Sage raised his hand and gathered his Sage Taoist rhyme. His majestic spiritual energy turned into a huge fist and struck out. This was the Overlord Saint tribe's sage technique, the brilliant heaven-shaking punch. The punch was like a majestic heavenly might. It was extremely domineering. Seeing this, the Fairfrost Sage raised her hand and struck out as well. As the two Taoist rhymes collided, a loud explosion erupted in the void. The terrifying power caused the entire valley to tremble. The Fairfrost Sage was forced to retreat several tens of feet from the attack. Her sage body was shaken and her face turned pale. On the other hand, the Grey Grill Sage stood proudly with an imposing aura. Fairfrost Sage, although you and I are both sages, my experience in this realm is much stronger than yours. I'm only 2 to 3 steps away from becoming a great sage, but you're at least 5 steps away. The Grey Grill Sage said proudly. Hearing this, although the Fairfrost Sage was unwilling, she could not refute it. There was indeed a gap between them. Master Li, aren't you afraid that the entire alchemy world will laugh at you for daring a sage to snatch the Grandmaster's inheritance? At that moment, Gujiang stood out and said loudly. He had just had an alchemy exchange with the Fairfrost Sage so they could be considered friends. Seeing that the Fairfrost Sage was being bullied, he could not help but speak up for her. As long as I can become an alchemy Grandmaster, I don't care if they laugh at me or not, Master Li said coldly. It's commendable that an alchemist like you dares to stand out. However, you have no right to speak in the affairs of a sage. A cold ray of light shot out from the Grey Grill Sage's eyes as a surge of Sage Taoist rhyme landed on Gujiang, forcing him to kneel on the ground. Stop it, he's from the Black Heaven sect. The Fairfrost Sage suddenly yelled. The Grey Grill Sage, who was about to kill Gujiang, had a hint of fear in his eyes when he heard the words Black Heaven sect. The Black Heaven sect belongs to that lunatic Chu Kuangren. Chapter 221. The words Black Heaven sect seemed to carry an inexplicable magical power that made Grey Grill Sage subconsciously stop what he was doing. He was afraid of the Black Heaven sect. He was even more afraid of Chu Kuangren, who was rumored to have killed 2 sages. Rumor has it that Chu Kuangren wreaked havoc in the Murong clan, destroyed their clan mausoleum, and killed 2 sages and a young emperor for a crippled disciple. This guy is a lunatic. There's no need to provoke a lunatic like him, Grey Grill Sage thought to himself. However, if he were to stop now, it would seem like he was afraid of Chu Kuangren. At that thought, he flicked his finger and a surge of qi blasted onto Gujiang's body, sending him flying and smashing him into the mountain wall. Gujiang immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale, his chest caved in and several of his bones were broken. Even his meridians were severely damaged. He could not even defend against a sage's flick of a finger. An honorable was like an ant to a sage. I'll spare your life for the sake of the Black Heaven sect. However, you may be spared from death, but you must be punished. This attack is a small punishment. Grey Grill Sage said indifferently. Gujiang was about to curse in his heart. A small punishment? That attack was more than enough to kill him. All he did was speak up for the Fairfrost Sage. In order not to offend the sage, he even said it to Master Li. *CK. He had long heard of the Overlord Sage tribe's tyrannical ways. However, he did not expect it to reach this point. Alright, Fairfrost Sage, don't waste my time. Hand over the Alchemy Grandmaster's inheritance. Grey Grill Sage said indifferently. Buzz buzz. At that moment, a strange fluctuation appeared in the void of the Fairfrost Valley. From the depths of the valley, a majestic surge of pill chi soared into the sky, forming a golden cloud in the void. The pill fragrance filled the air and spread for hundreds of kilometers. All the medicinal herbs in the entire valley were trembling, and they seemed to be jumping with joy as they erupted with exuberant vitality. In the sky, Taoist rhymes reverberated in the golden cloud, and an incredibly mysterious Taoist rhyme circulated. It had reached the level of a sage. The alchemists in the valley were shocked. A pill cloud of this scale is too terrifying. Sage Taoist aura, this is a sage pill. *CK, someone is concocting a saint pill and he even succeeded. Isn't this something only a great alchemist can concoct? There's actually a living alchemy grandmaster in this world? Everyone was horrified. Master Li's face was filled with disbelief. Impossible, impossible, how can there be someone in this world who can refine a sacred pill? Gujiang looked into the depths of the valley and smiled faintly. It must be him. Aside from him, no one else in this world has such ability. Something's wrong. The crowd exclaimed again. Next to the majestic pill cloud in the sky, a large amount of pill chi suddenly condensed and formed another pill cloud. The pill cloud was changing again and again. Soon they formed 9 pill clouds. Master Li was trembling all over. He was so shocked that his soul was about to leave his body. 9 pill clouds and a sage Dao aura? This is a 9th grade sage realm treasure pill. Even a great grandmaster might not be able to refine an elixir. How could it possibly appear here? Who is it? Who is concocting pills? Only an alchemy grandmaster could refine a sacred pill. However, even an alchemy grandmaster might not be able to refine a sacred grade pill, especially a 9th grade sacred grade pill. In the past hundreds of thousands of years, no one had ever succeeded in refining one. Even if Master Li fully comprehended the Fairfrost Sage's alchemy grandmaster inheritance, he would never be able to refine such a pill. All the alchemists were dumbfounded. Some of them wondered if they were dreaming and pinched their own or others' faces. 9 majestic pill clouds with a diameter of thousands of feet were suspended in the sky. The terrifying pill chi spread from 100 miles to thousands of miles. All the powerhouses in the Black Warrior domain sensed something strange and looked in the direction of the Fairfrost Valley, their faces filled with shock and uncertainty. Has a sage appeared? No, this is pill chi. It's a sacred pill and an extremely high-grade one at that. Aren't alchemy grandmasters extinct in this world? Where did this new alchemy grandmaster come from? All the powerhouses in the world, including the sages, were a little surprised. Inside the Fairfrost Valley, Fairfrost Sage and Grey Grill Sage stared at the 9 pill clouds with a solemn look in their eyes. The Taoist rhymes contained within the pill clouds made even the two of them feel pressured. What kind of alchemist is this? Grey Grill Sage could not help but wonder. Brother Chu, how did you refine such a horrifying pill? Fairfrost Sage knew that it was Chu Kuangren who was refining the pill. However, she was shocked as well. The pill clouds gradually dispersed, but the crowd of alchemists was still immersed in indescribable shock. Quick, Sage, snatch the Grandmaster's inheritance. Master Li regained his senses and said loudly. After knowing that such alchemy grandmasters still existed in this world, his desire to become a grandmaster grew stronger. Give me the Grandmaster's inheritance. Grey Grill Sage did not want to waste any more time talking to Fairfrost Sage, so he raised his hand and unleashed a punch. An extremely domineering Sage Taoist rhyme locked onto Fairfrost Sage. You'll have to step over my dead body if you want to snatch the inheritance. Fairfrost Sage was a woman who looked gentle on the outside but was extremely stubborn on the inside. She would rather fight to the death than submit to the Overlord Sage tribe. She raised her hand and unleashed a palm attack, but she was forced back again. Grey Grill Sage unleashed another punch. However, at that moment, an extremely cold sword-based Taoist rhyme erupted from the depths of the valley, and a purple sword ray shot out like a meteor. The sword ray swept past Fairfrost Sage and blocked the fist energy for her. The Taoist rhymes from the sword and fist intertwined and collided, turning into a terrifying shockwave that spread out. Even someone as powerful as Grey Grill Sage could not help but be forced back a few dozen feet. Who's that? Grey Grill Sage's pupils shrunk slightly. A man and a woman slowly walked out from the depths of the valley. The man who walked in front was dressed in white and had long black hair that reached his waist. He held a long sword that was as exquisite as white jade in his hand, and he looked like a sword immortal who had descended from the heavens. It's you? The one who unlocked the incomplete pill recipe of the pill scroll. Master Li recognized Chu Kuangren at first glance. Although Chu Kuangren's face was covered by a spiritual glow that day, he remembered his figure clearly. Coupled with the appearance of the sage pill just now, Master Li had a bold guess. You were the one who refined the sage pill just now. Chu Kuangren neither admitted nor denied it. The crowd soon confirmed that he was the one who refined the sage pill. After all, the fact that he could quickly complete the pill recipe on the pill scroll showed that his alchemy skills were extraordinary. He was probably an alchemy grandmaster as well. May I know who you are? Grey Grill Sage asked suspiciously. Compared to the alchemy Tao that the alchemists were concerned about, he was more afraid of his opponent's strength. Chu Kuangren still did not respond to the sage's question. He was still analyzing the situation. Why is it so chaotic outside when I've just finished refining the pill? Sect leader. At that moment, Gujiang yelled from the crowd. Chu Kuangren looked over and his pupils shrunk slightly. His figure then turned into a stream of light and appeared in front of Gujiang. Who hurt you? Chu Kuangren asked coldly. It's the sage from the Overlord Sage tribe. They want to snatch the Grandmaster's inheritance from the Fairfrost Sage. Gujiang briefly explained what had happened. Chapter 222. Following Gujiang's words, everyone present was shocked, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. There was only one person in the world whom Gujiang addressed as sect master. That person was none other than Chu Kuangren, the one who had just killed 2 of the Murong clan sages. He's Chu Kuangren. No way, no way, no way. Chu Kuangren can actually refine a 9th tier sage grade supreme pill? Are you kidding me? That madman actually came here. Rumor has it that Chu Kuangren is a peerless genius with a celestial appearance. Now that I've seen him in person, he's indeed extraordinary. I'm afraid there's not another person like him in this world. The crowd burst into a flurry of discussion. The crowd of alchemists could not associate an alchemist who could refine a 9th grade sage grade supreme pill with Chu Kuangren, who had killed 2 sages. This was too crazy. Damn it. Why is this guy in Fairfrost Valley? Grey Grill Sage's face turned gloomy. He felt that things had become troublesome. After Chu Kuangren heard the whole story, he looked at the Grey Grill Sage and said, Actually, I'm a very reasonable person. Do you have anything to say about what Gujiang said? The Grey Grill Sage said in a deep voice, Chu Kuangren, he has interfered in the affairs of the sages. I've already given you enough face by not killing him. This is your answer? A cold glint flashed across Chu Kuangren's eyes. Chu Kuangren, are you really going to interfere in this matter? First of all, the Iron Alchemy Scroll belongs to the Fairfrost Sage. Moreover, I was the one who obtained the Grandmaster's inheritance after completing the pill recipe. Therefore, logically speaking, I should also be credited for this inheritance. Secondly, I borrowed the Fairfrost Sage's treasured land for alchemy, so I owe her a favor. Logically speaking, I can't just sit back and do nothing. Thirdly, and most importantly, you've injured a member of the Black Heaven sect and I'm the sect leader of the Black Heaven sect. Logically speaking, do you think I'll just sit back and do nothing? Chu Kuangren's tone gradually turned cold. Just as he had said, he was a very reasonable person. His 3 reasons had rendered Grey Grill Sage and Grandmaster Li speechless. Everyone couldn't help but click their tongues in wonder. The Fairfrost Sage's beautiful eyes glowed even brighter. Chu Kuangren, do you really think the Overlord Sage tribe is afraid of you? Grey Grill Sage took a step forward and said coldly. A majestic pressure of a sage erupted from his body. Do you think my Black Heaven sect will be afraid? Similarly, Chu Kuangren's body erupted with an incredibly cold sword-based Taoist rhyme as the two terrifying domineering auras clashed violently in the void. The entire Frost Valley seemed to be shaking. Are you really going to fight me to the death for a rogue sage who has nothing to do with your Black Heaven sect? Grey Grill Sage said with a gloomy expression. That's not all. Like I said, the most important thing is that you indiscriminately hurt the people of my Black Heaven sect. You are indeed as crazy as the rumors say. The Grey Grill Sage was so angry that the corner of his mouth was twitching. However, he did not dare to act recklessly. Rumor had it that Chu Kuangren could slay 2 sages, so no matter how weak he was, his strength should be comparable to a sage's. Furthermore, there was still the Fair Frost Sage in the field. If they were to really fight, it would be 2 against 1, and his chances of winning were not high. Go. In the end, Grey Grill Sage decided to leave first. What? Sage, are you leaving just like that? Master Li was filled with dissatisfaction. I said leave. Grey Grill Sage glared at Master Li angrily. With Chu Kuangren around, they would not be able to obtain the Grandmaster's inheritance. If they did not leave, what else could they do? Would they be treated as a joke? Did I say you can leave? At that moment, Chu Kuangren's voice rang out. The crowd could not help but gasp when they heard that. Even a sage had given in. What else did he want? Grey Grill Sage's expression was extremely ugly. Chu Kuangren, don't go too far. What else do you want? You hurt my Black Heaven sect's people and then you want to leave? Am I the one who's gone too far, or are you the one who's gone too far? Chu Kuangren shouted coldly. At the same time, he turned the Descendant Self-Sword in his hand, and an incredibly cold sword-based Taoist rhyme that could even hurt a sage's body instantly locked onto Grey Grill Sage. You want to leave? Sure, but you'll have to cut off one of your arms first. Chu Kuangren, you've gone too far. Grey Grill Sage yelled. He wanted him to cut off one of his arms? After all, he had the body of a sage. If he were to cut off one of his arms, it would not be so easily reattached and regrown. Did he really think that everyone had an immortal body? He did not know how many resources he would need to use to recover his arm. The price was too high. Are you going to do it yourself or do you want me to do it? Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Looks like I'll have to experience what you're capable of today. The spiritual power on Grey Grill Sage's body began to surge. He would not cut off his arm so easily. It was not a matter of whether he was willing or not, but it concerned his reputation as a sage. If he were to let Chu Kuangren cut off his arm just like that, where would he hide his face? Looks like I'll have to do it myself. Chu Kuangren took out the sacred emerald sword case. Brilliant heaven-shaking fist. Grey Grill Sage instantly attacked. A terrifying fist strength flowed between his fingers, and when it was unleashed, an unparalleled violent energy instantly erupted. A gigantic black fist mark appeared in the air. The void rumbled and waves of air exploded out crazily. Chu Kuangren patted the sword case. The sword case opened and one by one treasured swords flew out. There were a total of 365 swords, forming a terrifying sword formation. The moment the two collided, surges of powerful sword chi pierced through the black fist mark, and it was instantly riddled with holes. What? Grey Grill Sage's expression changed. Just when he was shocked by the sword formation's power, the 365 swords had already arrived and surrounded him, trapping him within the sword formation. The rotation of the 4 seasons and the mysteries of nature were too much for him to handle. How terrifying was this sword formation? Chu Kuangren could already use this sword formation to trap 2 sages when he was only a beginner honorable, let alone a mid-stage honorable like him. Moreover, there was only one Grey Grill Sage. Trapped within the sword formation, Grey Grill Sage continuously unleashed his fist strength on the sword formation, but it was all in vain. This sword formation was too mysterious. With Grey Grill Sage's strength alone, it was impossible for him to handle it. The crowd could not help but gulp as they watched Chu Kuangren suppress Grey Grill Sage. They felt that the world was too crazy. An honorable was suppressing a sage? Although they had heard about Chu Kuangren killing 2 sages, it was not as shocking as witnessing it with their own eyes. Not long after, Grey Grill Sage's sage body was covered in blood marks. They were all caused by the sword chi of the sword formation. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren, who was outside the sword formation, controlled the sword chi methodically like a cat toying with a mouse. It almost made Grey Grill Sage vomit blood. No, this sword formation is too terrifying. I won't be able to last long. Grey Grill Sage's eyes gradually revealed a hint of ruthlessness. He gritted his teeth, turned his right hand into a palm blade, and ruthlessly slashed at his left arm. A sound of flesh tearing was heard. Blood splattered everywhere as his left arm was forcefully cut off by Grey Grill Sage. He said with a pale face, "Is this enough? I'll have to do this sooner or later anyway, so why bother fighting like this?" Chu Kuangren said indifferently as he put away the sword formation. "Let's go." Grey Grill Sage felt that if he stayed any longer, even if he was not killed by Chu Kuangren, he would be angered to death by him. He immediately grabbed his severed arm and left with Master Li. Chapter 223. Looking at Grey Grill Sage's disheveled silhouette, the crowd felt that it was ridiculous. After all, the Overlord Sage tribe was the top sage orthodoxy in the Black Warrior domain. They were so domineering that almost no one dared to provoke them. However, Chu Kuangren had given them a huge setback today. It's not that the Overlord Sage tribe isn't strong or domineering enough, but they've encountered a lunatic. One of the alchemists murmured, which made the crowd agree with him. Chu Kuangren go crazy. *CK This guy is insane. He's just an honorable, but he managed to suppress a sage. Is he even human? He's a monster. Chu Kuangren came before Gujiang and unleashed his spring breeze healing technique with a mysterious Taoist rhyme. Gujiang only felt a gust of spring breeze, and the injuries on his body healed at an extremely fast speed. This was much better than the vast majority of healing pills. What a powerful technique. Gujiang could not help but be amazed. Chu Kuangren was giving him more and more surprises. Fairfrost Sage walked to Chu Kuangren and said, "Thank you for your help, Brother Chu. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to escape." "Sage, you're welcome. By the way, the pill chi in the valley was so strong just now. Brother Chu, did you refine the sage-grade pill?" Fairfrost Sage asked curiously. "Indeed." Chu Kuangren smiled and took out a jade bottle. There were 3 golden medicinal pills inside. Even through the jade bottle, the crowd could still feel the surges of Taoist rhyme emanating from it. It was the 9th grade sage-grade supreme pill. Initially, it was quite difficult for him to refine this supreme pill. However, with the help of the Vitality Pill Tome's item spirit, Lil Tian, it was much easier. The alchemists gulped as they looked at the medicinal pills. They were like gluttons who had been starving for a long time seeing a table full of delicious food. Even Gujiang was no exception. He could not help but reach out to touch the medicinal pill, but Chu Kuangren slapped his hand away. Gujiang immediately looked aggrieved. "Sect leader, can't I even touch it? We're separated by 1,000 years of cultivation. How could the medicinal pill that I refined be worthy of your attention?" Chu Kuangren said. At first, Gujiang was stunned. He did not know what Chu Kuangren meant, but then he smacked his head and suddenly remembered. Before Chu Kuangren completed the pill recipe, Chu Kuangren had once mocked him, telling him to wait 1,000 years before he could complete the pill recipe. *CK me. Gujiang was dumbfounded. He actually laughed at the sect leader. "Oh my god. No, sect leader, listen to my explanation. I didn't know you were the sect leader at that time. Besides, didn't I just say something? Do you have to remember it until now? Aren't you a little narrow-minded? Petty?" Chu Kuangren glanced at Gujiang and kept the pill away. Gujiang wanted to cry but had no tears. He had accidentally said the wrong thing again. "Fairfrost Sage, what are your plans from now on?" Chu Kuangren asked the Fairfrost Sage before he left. "What do you mean, fellow Chu? You have the Grandmaster's inheritance in your hands. I don't think Master Li and the Overlord Sage tribe will let this matter rest. I'm afraid they'll come looking for you again. When that happens, how are you going to deal with them?" The Fairfrost Sage smiled bitterly at Chu Kuangren's words. "Brother Chu, you're right. It seems like I can't stay in Fairfrost Valley anymore. I need to find another place to live in seclusion. I have a suggestion." Chu Kuangren laughed. "What is it, Brother Chu?" "Fairfrost Sage, why don't you join my Black Heaven sect? You're an expert in growing supreme herbs, so it's a shame if you don't put your talent to good use. If you join my Black Heaven sect, I'll have someone specially set up a secluded place for you. You can still live the life you want, grow flowers and study alchemy in your spare time. All you need to do is to help the Black Heaven sect cultivate some supreme herbs. Most importantly, with the Black Heaven sect around, the Overlord Sage tribe will have to think twice before making trouble for you," Chu Kuangren said. The Fairfrost Sage pondered for a while before she said, "All right, I agree." Chu Kuangren was stunned when he heard that. He did not expect the Fairfrost Sage to agree without hesitation. He had even prepared a lot of other excuses. After all, the Fairfrost sage was used to being alone and had never joined any forces. It would not be an easy task to persuade her to attach herself to the protection of others. Chu Kuangren touched his own face. As expected, was it because he was too handsome? After some simple packing, Chu Kuangren, Lan Yu, Gujiang, the Fairfrost sage, and one of her disciples left the Fairfrost Valley. Before they arrived at the Fairfrost Valley, Chu Kuangren parked the elusive Mirage in the air not far from the Fairfrost Valley for Black Heaven's second forefather to look after. Not long after, the group returned to the elusive Mirage. As sage? Black Heaven's second forefather and Gujiang could not help but be surprised to see the Fairfrost sage. Chu Kuangren briefly explained the situation. Black Heaven's second forefather was overjoyed to hear that the Fairfrost sage was going to join the Black Heaven sect. A sage was too important to an orthodoxy. Every additional sage was a great help. Black Heaven's second forefather did not expect that Chu Kuangren would bring back a sage on this trip. This almost shocked Black Heaven's second forefather. However, when he found out that Chu Kuangren had offended the Overlord Sage tribe, the corner of Black Heaven's second forefather's mouth twitched. This young man was too good at stirring up trouble. Chu Kuangren's trip to the Black Warrior domain had killed 2 sages from the Murong clan, destroyed Ghost Street, and created a grudge with every demonic cultivator in the Black Warrior domain. Now, even the Overlord Sage tribe was not spared. The elusive Mirage was so huge that Fairfrost Sage and Gujiang were shocked to see it for the first time. Chu Kuangren then asked Lan Yu to bring them around. "Forefather, is there anything you want to say to me?" After everyone left, Chu Kuangren asked Black Heaven's second forefather. "What do you want to say?" "I've made so many enemies in my trip to the Black Warrior domain. Don't you want to teach me a lesson?" Chu Kuangren blinked. "Ah, young man, since we've handed the Black Heaven sect over to you, you'll be in charge of everything in the sect. Do whatever you want and we'll support you unconditionally." Black Heaven's second forefather laughed. His trust warmed Chu Kuangren's heart. "Forefather, you're putting a lot of pressure on me." "It's fine. If you can't handle it anymore, you still have us. I've made a lot of enemies in my trip to the Black Warrior domain, but the Murong clan no longer has a sage, so there's nothing to fear. Besides the Underworld Palace, the rest of the demonic orthodoxies are not worth mentioning. As for the Overlord Sage tribe, I've only cut off one of their sage's arms. Consider it a lesson. They may be angry, but they won't fight us to the death over this." Chu Kuangren said slowly. To be honest, although he had made a lot of enemies in his trip to the Black Warrior domain, apart from the Overlord Sage tribe, the rest were nothing. He had cut off one of Grey Grill Sage's arms, but he had spared his life as well. Taking an arm and taking the life of a sage were two different concepts. If Chu Kuangren killed Grey Grill Sage, the Overlord Sage tribe might go crazy, and the other forces might even join forces to deal with the Black Heaven sect. An unscrupulous lunatic would be feared by all forces, but he would also be targeted by everyone. Chu Kuangren and the Black Heaven sect did not have the ability to deal with everyone at the moment. This was also the reason why he let Grey Grill Sage go. The current level was just right. It could serve as a huge deterrent, but it would not make all forces so afraid that they would join forces to go against the Black Heaven sect. Chapter 224. Chu Kuangren's actions this time were crazy, but other than that time when the Murong clan was truly enraged, he had always maintained a sense of propriety. Black Heaven's second forefather looked at Chu Kuangren with a sense of relief. From his point of view, Chu Kuangren was extremely outstanding. Although he was still very young, his methods were not weaker than any of the sect leaders of the previous generation. Because of his powerful strength, his way of doing things was different from the other sect leaders. He did things openly, but the results were extremely good. "Our Black Heaven sect will be glorious," Black Heaven's second forefather muttered as he stared at Chu Kuangren's back. Upon returning to the elusive Mirage, Chu Kuangren handed the soul-healing pill to Murong Xian. Murong Xian held the pill in his hand in excitement. He looked at Chu Kuangren with gratitude and was about to kneel down. However, Chu Kuangren held her up. "What are you doing? Sect leader, you've protected my mother's corpse from being humiliated by others, and you've even concocted a sacred pill for me. You've given me a new lease on life. I really don't know how to thank you enough," Murong Xian said with bloodshot eyes. "You used to call me eldest senior brother, but now you call me sect leader. No matter what my identity is, isn't it what I should do? If you're really grateful, make more contributions to the sect in the future." Chu Kuangren patted him on the shoulder and said, "Murong Xian's life belongs to the Black Heaven sect now. Alright, you should recuperate first." Murong Xian took the Saint pill and went to recuperate. That night, suddenly, a burst of sword qi soared into the sky from the illusionary mirage. Chu Kuangren, who was resting with his eyes closed, looked towards the source of the sword qi and smirked. It seems like this medicinal pill is quite effective. Not only has it restored Murong Xian's spiritual mound, but it has also greatly increased his spiritual power. This time, Murong Xian could be considered to have profited from his misfortune. Fairfrost Sage and Gujiang walked out of the pavilion and looked at the source of the sword qi. They exchanged glances and could not help but click their tongues in wonder. The injury of the spiritual mound has actually been mended. This has truly solved a problem that has plagued the alchemy world for thousands of years. Fellow Daoist Chu's ability is truly extraordinary. The two of them exclaimed in admiration. He was even more impressed by Chu Kuangren's alchemy skills. Not long after, Chu Kuangren and the others returned to the Black Heaven sect. When Elder Rian and the others saw the gigantic illusionary mirage, they thought that it was some kind of enemy. They quickly ordered their men to be on high alert and nearly activated the sect protecting formation. When they saw Chu Kuangren and the others descending from the elusive mirage, everyone let down their guard and hurriedly went up to them. Meanwhile, in the direction of the towering Heaven Palace, a streak of fiery light suddenly shot into the sky. It was the godly phoenix, Lil Red, who had sensed Chu Kuangren's return and could not wait to welcome him. "Big brother, where did you go? Why did you leave me here?" The godly phoenix Lil Red came before Chu Kuangren and rubbed its furry head against his body, expressing its longing for him. Chu Kuangren stroked her neck and comforted her. "Sect leader, what is this?" When Elder Rian and the others arrived in front of Chu Kuangren, they could not help but gulp when they saw the towering pavilions and palaces on the Cloud Mist Tower. The illusionary mirage was too shocking. "It's not like I've never seen an immortal boat before," Chu Kuangren said indifferently. Elder Rian and the others looked at the illusionary mirage that was more than 30 kilometers in diameter and could not help but look at each other. "You call this a boat?" Sect leader, where should we park this thing?" Elder Rian asked. "A treasure like this must be protected properly. Where to park the illusionary mirage, who to look after it, and how many cultivators were needed to set up its defenses were all matters that needed to be considered." "It's fine. Just leave it here with me for now." Chu Kuangren pointed at the yin and yang ring on his finger. With a thought, the gigantic illusionary mirage rapidly shrunk into a dot of light before Chu Kuangren kept it into his yin and yang ring. When the crowd saw this, they were shocked again. A normal yin and yang ring would only have a few hundred square meters in size. However, Chu Kuangren had casually kept the illusionary mirage, which was almost 30 kilometers in diameter, into his yin and yang ring. Just how big was the space inside the ring? The crowd did not know. Chu Kuangren's yin and yang ring was a legendary grade item, which was one grade higher than the illusionary mirage. The space inside it was incredibly vast. Not to mention one illusionary mirage, it could easily store 10 or even 100 other boats. If it were not for the fact that it could not store living things, Chu Kuangren would have taken the entire Black Heaven sect with him. "It's just a small matter." Elder Rian took a deep breath and calmed herself down. "Isn't it just a ferry boat the size of a city? Isn't it just a yin and yang ring that can store a ferry boat the size of a city? What's that? Is it more shocking than Chu Kuangren creating the 12 sage techniques? Is it more shocking than Chu Kuangren killing 2 sages? By the way, Elder Rian, this is the Fairfrost Sage. From today onward, she's also a member of our Black Heaven sect. She loves peace and quiet, so please find her a place to stay." Chu Kuangren introduced the Fairfrost Sage. "What?" The crowd was stunned again. A sage wants to join the Black Heaven sect. What a joyous occasion. Not long ago, Master Gu joined the Black Heaven sect because of our sect leader. Now we have another sage. This is great. The elders were so excited that they could not control themselves. "It's just a small matter," Elder Rian kept telling herself that in her heart. After that, she took the Fairfrost Sage with her and left. "Sect leader, I need to find a place to properly place my mother's remains. I'll take my leave first," Murong Xian said. "All right, go ahead." After that, Chu Kuangren discussed with the elders about the recent changes in the Azure Dragon domain. After the discussion, they realized that there were indeed some changes. For example, when the news of Chu Kuangren killing the Murong clan's 2 sages reached the Azure Dragon domain, almost every sage orthodoxy was shocked. Now, almost no one dared to go against the Black Heaven sect. Now, the Black Heaven sect's momentum is unprecedentedly strong. Some of the disciples are even saying that they're going to unify the Azure Dragon domain. Haha, this bunch of kids are still immature. However, with the Black Heaven sect's current momentum, it's not impossible for them to expand their territory. No, it's definitely doable. Listening to the elder's words, Chu Kuangren fell into deep thought before he said, I wonder if you've heard of this saying before? To destroy something you must first make it mad. Everyone looked at each other and shook their heads in confusion. The Black Heaven sect may be strong now, but we need to be more cautious at this time. If we act too recklessly, we'll definitely cause a backlash from the other sage orthodoxies. Chu Kuangren said. At that, the elders fell into deep thought. Also, we need to strengthen the management of the disciples. Unify the Azure Dragon domain? Every one of them is messing with me. I'm already having a headache managing the Black Heaven sect. The Azure Dragon domain is so big, whoever wants to manage it can do so. Let them memorize the sect's commandments and conduct monthly checks. Elder enforcement, I'll leave this matter to you. Not only them but also those affiliated forces. Send someone to warn them not to act recklessly while the Black Heaven sect's momentum is strong. If they dare to do so, I'll kill them as a warning to the others. Chu Kuangren discussed with the elders for several hours. It was his first time participating in a sect's internal affairs discussion. His foresight and wisdom had made some of the elders extremely pleased. At least he's much better than that mysterious rarity sect leader. One of the elders said emotionally. In the depths of the Black Heaven sect, Honorable Xian Qi, who was in a cottage, could not help but sneeze. He said in confusion, no way even a boundary sage can catch a cold. Chapter 225. In the Towering Heaven Palace. Chu Kuangren was cultivating. It had been half a month since he returned to the Black Heaven sect, and he had spent most of his time dealing with internal affairs with the various elders. For the first time he felt the difference between being a sect leader and an elder senior brother. Sigh, it's tiring. Didn't Master say that he would just be a sect leader who didn't have to do anything? Or are you trying to fool? Chu Kuangren muttered helplessly. Let's do a lucky draw and relax. Chu Kuangren opened the fantasy roulette and started the lucky draw. Congratulations, host. You have obtained the Starlight Formation Technique, Gravity Domain. Formation Technique? Chu Kuangren rubbed his chin and pondered. He did not get many formation techniques, but the Towering Heaven Palace's Spirit Gathering Formation and the legendary Four-Season Sword Formation stood out the most. These two formations had been extremely helpful to him, especially the latter, which had even helped him kill a sage. Now he had obtained the Gravity Domain. This formation technique might be very useful. Chu Kuangren pondered and then sent a message to Elder Ruyan. Soon, a new palace appeared in the Black Heaven sect. Sect leader, why do you want me to build this palace? Is the Towering Heaven Palace not big enough? Elder Ruyan asked curiously. When the two of them arrived outside the palace, Chu Kuangren smiled. You'll find out soon enough. Come, let's go in together. The two of them entered the palace together. The palace was built according to Chu Kuangren's requirements. Although it was not extravagant, the interior was very spacious and sturdy. There were even some runes engraved in some places that even an honorable could not easily destroy. Upon entering the palace, Chu Kuangren's heart skipped a beat. He retrieved the gravity domain and placed it within the palace. Immediately the entire palace shook and changes took place. A few unremarkable black stones appeared in the surroundings. These stones were the foundation of the gravity domain. Chu Kuangren walked in front of one of the stones and pressed it. A huge force of gravity suddenly erupted inside the palace, pressing down on Chu Kuangren and Elder Ruyan like a mountain. What's going on? Elder Ruyan's body trembled as she hurriedly channeled her spiritual power to resist the sudden force of gravity. She was shocked. Chu Kuangren pressed on the other stones one after another, and the gravity was constantly adjusted, sometimes strong and sometimes weak. At its most terrifying moment, even Elder Ruyan, who had channeled all of her spiritual energy, was nearly pinned to the ground, unable to move at all. Oh my God, what kind of formation is this? Gravity domain. Chu Kuangren pressed down on the last stone and dispelled the formation. Elder Ruyan's body relaxed. She was sweating profusely as she panted and said, What a powerful formation. Chu Kuangren chuckled. The gravity in this gravitational formation is divided into 5 difficulty levels, which are easy, normal, hard, nightmare, and hellish. Elder Ruyan, you're a venerable, so you're more suited for the nightmare difficulty. If it's the hell difficulty, you won't be able to move. This formation can be tested by the disciples. Under the pressure, it can temper their physical bodies, strength, and even spiritual energy. However, you have to pay attention to the difficulty that suits you. As Chu Kuangren spoke, Elder Rian's eyes grew brighter and brighter. She could already see the immense value that this formation contained. This was definitely a training ground that was not inferior to the Sword Tower. Elder Rian did not ask Chu Kuangren where the formation came from. After all, she knew that the answer would always be the same. What kind of opportunity of fortune is this? Chu Kuangren taught Elder Rian how to operate the formation and left the rest of the promotion to her. After exiting the palace, Chu Kuangren used his sword chi to carve a few words on the palace's gate. Gravity training grounds. Simple and direct. He smiled in satisfaction. This shall be the name of this palace from now on. Beside him, Elder Rian was speechless. Chu Kuangren was obviously bad at naming things, yet he still liked it. Forget it, forget it. As long as the sect leader is happy. Not long after, news of the gravity training grounds spread throughout the Black Heaven sect. Many disciples were eager to give it a try. I heard that Qin Wushuang came to the gravity training grounds a few days ago. He went in standing but came out holding onto the wall. His legs were so weak. Taoist Junyi smiled. The Qin Wushuang she mentioned was also one of the Black Heaven sect's Taoists, and his strength was no weaker than hers. Yes, I'm curious too, so I came here today to give it a try, Nangong Huang, who was beside Junyi, said. Please. Two Taoists, one male and one female, walked into the gravity training grounds at the same time. As soon as they entered, they saw the black stones on the wall. Junyi said, this should be the formation base that Elder Rian mentioned. The first one is the easy mode, the second one is the normal mode. Nangong Huang, which one should we try first? We shouldn't bite off more than we can chew. I heard that Elder Rian can only withstand the nightmare level, so let's go with this one. Nangong Huang said calmly. They were Taoists with excellent talents and outstanding combat strength. In terms of combat strength, they were no weaker than some of the elders. Especially Nangong Huang, who was also a young emperor. All right. Junyi nodded and pressed on the stone. Suddenly, an extremely strong gravitational force erupted. Their expressions immediately changed. Before they could do anything, they were pressed to the ground on the spot with a bang. What a terrifying gravitational force. We were too careless. Both of them hurriedly channeled their spiritual power to resist the gravitational force. About an hour later, the gravitational force disappeared. At this time, both of them were sweating profusely and trembling. They felt sore and powerless, as if this body did not belong to them anymore. Next time, let's start with the normal mode. Nangong Huang said weakly. Outside the gravity trial field, Murong Xian arrived. However, before he could enter, he saw a pale Nangong Huang and Junyi walking out with their hands on the wall. What's wrong with you two? It's this gravity trial field. It's too terrifying. What level of difficulty are you trying? Hell mode. Before Junyi could speak, Nangong Huang said, as Taoists, we should lead by example and challenge our limits. That's why we're trying the hell mode. Wow, your challenge is quite difficult. Murong Xian looked at the two of them and shook his head. Then he walked into the gravity trial field. Looking at the black stone on the wall, Murong Xian smiled and said, looking at Nangong Huang and Junyi, the hell mode should be very scary. I'd better not try it. Nangong Huang, you want to trick me? No way. I'd better try the nightmare mode. He pressed on the stone. Then, a huge gravitational force pressed him to the ground. *CK Nangong Huang, just you wait. Murong Xian's mouth twitched as he said. Aside from the Taoists, more people came to the gravity trial field to try it. After the Taoist mistakes, everyone chose a difficulty that was suitable for them to avoid being like them. With the addition of the sword gauntlet, the cultivation speed of the Black Heaven sect's disciples soared, and the overall quality continued to improve. Time passed, and before they knew it, a year had passed. During this year, Chu Kuangren had been staying in the Black Heaven sect. Under his watch, the entire Black Heaven sect flourished and developed rapidly. Although there were no major movements such as expanding the territory, the internal strength of the sect had increased by more than a level. Chapter 226. Knock knock. Inside the towering Heaven Palace, Lan Yu knocked on the door. Come in. A lazy voice came from inside the room. Lan Yu pushed the door open and saw Chu Kuangren yawning as he woke up from his bed. She could not help but smile. She went up to Chu Kuangren and skillfully tidied his bed. She then helped him change his clothes and said, Master, Elder Rian sent someone to tell you to be punctual for a meeting at the Longevity Hall. Meeting? Oh, it's the beginning of the month today, right? Chu Kuangren suddenly realized. The Black Heaven sect would hold a meeting every month to discuss the happenings of the month, such as the performance of the disciples, the movements of the other sage orthodoxies, and so on. After he was dressed, Chu Kuangren carefully looked at himself in the mirror. After being the sect leader for a year, I feel like my hairline has grown taller. Oh no, I won't go bald if I continue like this. Lan Yu smiled helplessly. Master, you're thinking too much. Your hair is still as thick as ever, and your hairline hasn't changed either. Is that so? It's true. You're still as good looking as ever. That's good. Chu Kuangren brought Lan Yu along and prepared to leave. In the courtyard, Lil Bing was feeding Lil Red a few spirit fruits. Master. Did Fairfrost Sage send spirit fruits again? Yes, she sent 2 big baskets this time. She said that the godly phoenix likes them, so she planted more. Lil Bing pointed at the 2 baskets of fiery red spirit fruits with a rich fire-based Taoist rhyme. Any one of them was a priceless top-tier supreme elixir. However, these were just snacks for the godly phoenix Lil Red. Thank you for troubling her. Alright. Chu Kuangren took out a book and a bottle. There were some seeds in the bottle. These are the answers to the alchemy questions she asked me last time. There are also some supreme elixir seeds. Send them to her later. Over the past year, Fairfrost Sage would occasionally come to Chu Kuangren to ask some questions. Sometimes he would save up some of the more complicated questions and write them down in a book for her. Besides that, he would sometimes draw all sorts of strange things from the gacha, and these supreme elixir seeds were one of them. Since he was too lazy to plant them himself, he left them to the Fairfrost Sage. Yes, Master. They left the Doctrine Palace. Chu Kuangren and Lan Yu walked towards the Longevity Hall. The disciples he met along the way all bowed respectfully. Greetings, Sect Master. Greetings, Sect Master. Compared to a year ago, the Black Heaven sect had changed a lot. What was most noteworthy was the cultivation of the disciples. In just 1 year, almost every disciple's cultivation had improved. This was especially true for Taoists like Murong Xian and Nangong Huang. Under Chu Kuangren's nurturing, their cultivation levels had improved tremendously. He arrived at the Longevity Hall. The elders had already gathered together. Upon seeing Chu Kuangren, everyone bowed to him. Greetings, Sect Master. Alright, enough with the pleasantries. Let's begin. Chu Kuangren chuckled and sat on the main seat of the hall. The elders began to report their work. Most of them were trivial matters. Halfway through the meeting, Chu Kuangren started to yawn. It was too boring. By the way, some time ago the Horizon Wing sect asked us for help, saying that they've been attacked by the tormented souls. I've already sent someone to deal with it. Elder Rian suddenly said. Chu Kuangren's interest was piqued when he heard that. Tormented souls? Yes, the Horizon Wing sect is located near the ancient battlefield. It's not unusual for them to be attacked by the tormented souls occasionally, Elder Rian said. The tormented souls originated from the ancient battlefield, one of the 10 great forbidden areas. They were a unique existence formed by the combination of the ancient battlefield's boundless ferocious chi and the resentment of the deceased. They usually lingered around the ancient battlefield. It was not unusual for the Horizon Wing sect to be attacked by the tormented souls. In the past, the Black Heaven sect had also sent people there to provide support, but it was soon over. The elders began to report the rest of the matters. However, the words ancient battlefield still lingered in Chu Kuangren's mind. He recalled the sage war that the eternal sage ruler mentioned, and the ancient battlefield was the battlefield of that sage war. He couldn't help but want to go and take a look. I've decided. I want to go to the ancient battlefield. The elders were still reporting their work. They were stunned when they heard Chu Kuangren's words and looked at each other. Sect leader, why do you want to go to the ancient battlefield? To gain some experience. Chu Kuangren said casually. Sect leader, do you still need experience? One of the elders said speechlessly. The others had the same expression. Sect leader, stop joking. You can even kill a sage. What's the point of you training? Of course. But what about the Black Heaven sect if you leave? After I leave, Elder Rian will temporarily take over all the sect's affairs. Contact me if you need anything. This, Elder Rian and the others were still a little hesitant. Alright, it's decided then. The Black Heaven sect has improved a lot in the past year, and you guys have managed everything well. I don't think you guys will stop operating just because I'm not around, right? Chu Kuangren chuckled. Even the heavens pity me. He had been cooped up in the Black Heaven sect for a year now. If he did not go out for a walk soon, his body would grow rusty. Well, all right then. Elder Rian nodded. In fact, it was not that they did not want Chu Kuangren to leave. It was just that Chu Kuangren was the main reason why the Black Heaven sect could develop to this stage in the past year. Unknowingly, they had developed a certain dependence on this young sect leader who was only 20 years old. When they heard that he wanted to leave the sect, they were at a loss for what to do. This was something unimaginable in the past. How could they develop such a dependence on a young sect leader? All right. Chu Kuangren smiled. Lan Yu, let's go. Let's pack our things and get ready to go out and have fun. No train. Deep within the Black Heaven sect. Inside the cottage, Black Heaven's third forefather smiled and said, "This little guy is going out to cause trouble again. Should we call someone to follow him?" "No need." Black Heaven's second forefather's voice rang out. "He can even kill a sage now. He doesn't need any protectors anymore." Sages were the highest combat strength known in the Firmament Star. Without a doubt, Chu Kuangren was now one of the most powerful people in the world. Why would he need a protector? Who knows what kind of trouble this guy will cause when he goes out? Honorable Xianqi chuckled. Thinking back to Chu Kuangren's past expeditions, which one of them did not turn the world upside down and cause chaos? If he went out now, who knew what kind of trouble he would cause? Honorable Xianqi's words made the other forefathers speechless. This little guy is good at everything, but he's just too good at causing trouble. This is good too. Young people should be energetic. Let him do whatever he wants. We old guys are here to handle it anyway. Black Heaven's second forefather laughed. The Black Heaven sect was now unprecedentedly powerful. Besides Chu Kuangren, who already had the combat strength of a sage, there were also the three sages, second forefather, third forefather, Fairfrost sage, and Honorable Xianqi, who was about to become a sage. On top of that, the seventh forefather was about to ascend as well. Once he succeeded, he would be another boundary sage. Not to mention, besides the Black Heaven sect, the School of White Lotus and the Royal Azure Dynasty were also Chu Kuangren's strong support. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.